comics, feeding the addiction to all you comic-holics, from creator skits, fan picks, news and reviews, unboxings, comic and creator interviews. We got you covered for the journey, so sit back, relax, get lost with us and take this journey to the max. We lost in comics, baby. That's the L into the C. Got it covered, everything from A to Z. We lost in comics, baby. That's the L into the C. All stories and characters, land, air, and sea. The show's about to start. Get ready, it's going down. In the L and C, all these comics can be found. It's lost in comics, baby. That's the L into the C.
What is up, everybody? Friday nights, the work week is over, and it is time to get lost in comics. Welcome, everybody. This is Lost in Comics, where we help you get lost on your comic book journey. This is issue number 164. Be sure that you are following us on all the socials, on X, Instagram. What else we got? TikTok, Blue Sky. We're everywhere right now. I love when we are away from the show and being able to connect with everybody. Sometimes I don't always talk, but I'm always watching what y'all are saying, and I love it. I love this community, and it has all come down to this. Tonight, this is a very, very special show. This is night 2, round 2 of the 5th annual 2023 Lost in Comics Best of Comic Nomination Show. Let's get a round of applause. Man, last night was so much fun, y'all. I had a blast. I love that. I felt like this panel, they really stretched my thinking. I had to change some things up for tonight's show. I even changed up a couple of things last night. Just when you get around comic peeps, man, you start talking things out. You're like, holy hell, that thing was fantastic. I just had to kind of had to hear it again, get some confirmation. But we are on the road to the Lost in Comics Best of 2023 Comic Award Show, and that show will be held on January the 11th next year, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is a comic show presented by comic creators, comic artists, comic writers. They will be here to present these awards. And I told y'all yesterday, we've got some big names for this show. We've got just a couple, Mark Russell, Jeremy Adams, Philip Kennedy Johnson, Jeff Lemire. My mind is going blank right now, but we've got a lot of creators that will be on that night. John Lees, Alex Cormack, man, they're going to come in as a duo, present an award together. I'm really excited about that. So do not miss it. January the 11th. Everything that we're doing here, the last night and this night, the culmination of all of that will happen on this date here, January the 11th. I am very, very excited about it, and just want to go around real quick and say hi to everybody in the chat. Let's start it off here. Let's go through everybody real quick. Horizon Brave, welcome. Pouch, what is going on? I'm glad I wasn't dependent on you, Pouch, for that list last night, man. I really. I'll tell you all that in just a moment. John, what is going on, John? Welcome. Nick in the house. We got Adam Janetz. We've got Ronan the Accuser, Milton Lawson joining us via Twitter. We got Blake's Buzz, baby. Who else we got? Jeff Howe is in the house. Who else? Pouch, everybody. All right. We are going to have more and more people come in as the night goes on. Man, I love this show so much. If you guys can do me a quick favor, or if you are here right now, hit that thumbs up button. I genuinely appreciate it. Let's go over the rules again real quick for anybody that wasn't here last night. You missed day 1 of the nominations. You need to know what the heck is going on around here, right? So each member of the panel that will be joining us here in just a moment has 4 nominations for every category that we go through. A panel member's 4th pick, it's worth 1 point. Their 3rd pick is worth 2 points. The 2nd pick is worth 3 points. And the number 1 overall pick is worth 4 points. Of course, there's value in this numbering system. After each panelist has given their nomination, a member of the community is going to come on the stream. We're going to bring them on about 2 minutes or less to keep things moving along, and they're going to present their number 1 overall pick for each category, and that pick is worth 2 points. That community member can use their pick to help champion a book that was mentioned by one of the other panelists, or they can throw something else in the ring, a new nomination that maybe they want to give attention to something that we forgot, didn't mention. Now, from all the nominations tonight, the 4 nominations with the most points in every category at the end will be placed into the final voters brackets that will be voted on by the comic community. I will blast that link everywhere. We'll have it in the description of these nomination shows. I might do a short video with all the finalists just so that you guys can have the finalists and also have a link in that video. So I will try to make that link available to everybody so you guys can get on, share it out, vote, make your voice heard, and that voting will open as early as this weekend, depending on how quickly I can get that, get everything tallied up. So let's go ahead and bring on our panel. Look, I gave them all wonderful introductions yesterday. Look, what I'm going to say about this, I think about this a lot. When this particular show, it is my favorite event of the year. The nominations, the award show, I put a lot of thought into who is on this panel. These are guys that live, they breathe comics. They work in comic shops. They care immensely, not just about the drama that's going on and like what's happening in no, they care about the stories, the art, the essence of these beautiful things, this beautiful medium that we all love. I love these guys. I'm so happy to bring them on. Let's start off. Let me bring in the newbie. I love this guy, man. I'm getting to know him. I appreciate him. I love his background. I love his cat. Welcome, Nick, Comic Culture. Welcome back, sir. Night number 2.
Dude, this is going to be a very interesting night. It's going to be interesting for sure. I had about 8 things per category. Had to whittle them down. You're mean, dude. You're really mean. But we're going to get through it, man. Thanks.
And everybody told you I was a nice guy, dude. I mean,
I know.
Man.
Liars, dude.
All right, man. Bringing in our next panelist. This dude's been with me for a long time, man. Like I said, one of the very earliest people that ever came onto the Lost in Comics show. We did an interview with a phone on speakerphone, and we recorded that before I knew what the heck we were doing around here. Still not quite sure, but he's been around for a long time. I love this guy. Chris Barcombe, what is going on, sir?
Hello,
Welcome.
everybody. I'm sorry, my throat went out. How's it going?
Very good, very good. Don't get choked up yet, man. I mean, we're just started.
I always do when I see you.
I know it, man. Oh, dude, come on, man. Making me feel good.
Talking comics. I'm hanging with Chris, Nick, Robbie. It's all good.
Heck yeah. Now they say you bring in the best for last. That is not the case tonight. I am bringing in. See, I got you back, man. You always dogging me when I come onto your show, man. Just everybody knows it, man. Rockin' Robbie, General of the PCP Army. What is going on, my dude?
What is up, man? I love the introduction. I appreciate it. But I will say, even though I am here because I love comics, don't ever get it misconstrued. I love the drama too. So let's bring on the drama queens. Let's do it.
Oh man. Hey, look, if you didn't bite on the pick last night that Nick made and you restrained yourself, I trust you, man. Oh
Yeah,
goodness.
that was a good one. I know.
How
Yeah, can
I
I
wish-
change my pick for breakout writer to Mark Miller, please? Can I do that?
Why would
Is it
you
too
do
late?
that? That's
Is
such
it
a
too
silly
late to do
pick. Why would we ever do that? What are we doing now? Best horror, right?
Yes, yeah.
Best horror comic. I hate Fairyland. How about that?
I'd like to go with Mark Wade, man, on my breakout writer, man.
Breakout writer Mark Wade. He's going places, dude.
Oh, dude, man, I'm so excited for tonight, y'all. Let's go over the categories that we are doing tonight. We've got 7 categories. We did 8 last night, so maybe this show will be just a tad shorter than last night. But we've got some good ones tonight. We're going to be starting with the best horror comic of 2023. We'll move on to best single issue, best ongoing series, best limited series, artist of the year, writer of the year, and then we will cap it off with the best comic series of 2023. Man, I am ready. I know you guys are ready.
Yep.
I'm going to try something tonight. I know last night I was getting a little confused on like who starts. So let's go 2 rounds the same format, and then we'll switch it up. So we'll go. Yeah, I won't explain it. I'll do it in my head. We got this.
Yeah.
All right. So
I have trust in you. Faith.
You know what? Let's start off with we're kind of in different areas tonight, but let's start off with Chris Barcombe. we will go over to Robbie, Nick, and Chris. I'm glad we separated the Chris's here. Chris, Robbie, Nick, Chris. You got the honors,
There you
Chris. Let's do it.
All right, so best horror comic 2023 in spot number 4 came out very early this year. Might be controversial to Chris.
Mm.
The Blackula original graphic novel. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Why would that be controversial to me, man? What
always like when we pick the graphic novels.
are you trying? No. Okay. Well, I'm glad you clarified that because people are probably thinking, "What? What's wrong with Chris?"
You almost got canceled, dude.
Oh no, man.
Jesus.
Somebody call Mark Miller.
Yeah.
He can get you on his show.
Uh,
Man, now you made me forget what I was going to say.
go ahead, Barcombe. I'm sorry, man. I'm
But
sorry.
no, this was something that I really thought that a lot of people didn't know about. I don't think it was advertised very well. Distribution didn't go well, but those that got it, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Everybody I talked to thoroughly enjoyed it. Something that you also thought could be kind of corny or cheesy based on the reference material was done very well. And like I said, the Jason Sean Alexander art just crushed that as well. So, but that's my number 4, the Blackula OGN.
Nice.
Number 3, All 8 Eyes. Thoroughly enjoyed this book. I was the only person in the store that got it, and that's perfectly fine with me. But one of the things I enjoyed about it was it had that horror element, but I also liked that it had that little sub-element about how we don't necessarily pay attention or treat the unhoused very well and some of their struggles. And I really thought that message was very well done in that book in a way in which you still got the story. So if that's what you wanted, cool. But there's that little undertow in there that really kind of added to it that I thought really enhanced that book. Going number 2, Deviant. I think we all know James Tynion will probably be on here somewhere, but yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I saved this book. I didn't read any of the advanced previews for the retailers. I genuinely was excited for this book. The idea of a serial killer dressed as Santa Claus. And did it have the shock that World Tree issue number 1 had? No. But it still had that shock that I was looking for. And I really think that Tynion picks very good corresponding artists for these titles that he does. And they always work well, even if it's not the same person. So, but number 1 had to be World Tree for me. That book, that first issue out of the gun was fantastic. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I love the art. No way did I see everything going. And then when you thought you hit the climax of that book, you get to the last page and you're like, oh, there's more. But thoroughly enjoyed it. So yeah, World Tree number 1.
Great picks, man. Great picks. Now, Deviant, we've only got 1 issue of that, right? Am I right on that? Have you read further than I have? No.
No, just the 1.
Okay. I'm just making sure.
2 is out this week. So technically 2 issues for the year, even though we haven't read this.
True.
One, so
True. All right. I like it. Chris. Let's move on to Robbie. I know you love this category, man. Let's see what you got.
yeah, I do love this category. And at first I was like, man, I feel like horror in comics was kind of slim pickings this year when I really started like laying it down. But I came up with 4 that I think are really good. One of them only has a couple issues out as well. But number 4, I'm going World Tree by James Tynion. Is it Fernando Blanco who's the artist on that one with Jordi Belair? Jordi Belair doing some great work on that issue. I love the art and I love the story. It's like the undernet. It's like demonic. It's like techno, it's like techno magic kind of related. The way the art's being utilized to show this like otherworldly effect coming through the undernet and infecting people. It's gnarly. It's cool. It's got some interesting characters. It's a cool mystery. It feels a little bit different than what Tynion typically does, but also the same. He does a great job of like breaking up his genres, even within the overall genre of like horror and fantasy, right? They all feel very different. This is way different than Department of Truth, way different than Nice House on the Lake, right? But it works, and it works so well, and it does not hurt when the majority of the book is a completely nude female just like murdering people. Like that's just awesome. I think that's awesome. So number 4, World Tree. Number 3, Lovesick. Lovesick blew me away this year. I was talking about Luana Vicio last night on Breakout Artist for me. her work here as the writer and the artist doing something very similar to what Ed Piskor does in Red Room, but with a more sultry, sleek, sexy, and unnerving kind of way. It doesn't have to like rip bodies apart to make you feel that grotesque kind of feeling, but they do. It's gnarly, it's transgressive, it's out there, and it's such an amazing book. At number 2, James Tynion again refocusing himself with one of his absolute most brilliant artistic partners, Martin Simmons. I'm talking about Universal Monsters Dracula. I know we only got 2 issues, but that's half the series.
Yeah.
And I am fairly certain that this is going to just become one of my favorite comic books of the last 5 to 10 years. I am blown away. It's anybody else gets the task to do an adaptation of a very popular story and very popular movie, an iconic movie and character like Dracula. You just do it by the numbers, right? But what he's doing is he's taking that Universal Monsters movie and he's telling us the bits in between the bits that we got in the movie, and he's elaborating on it. And Martin Simmons has leveled up. I thought this dude leveled up at Department of Truth. This is even better. It is some of the most genuinely beautiful and terrifying artwork I have ever seen. His way of portraying Renfield, for instance, is just striking. But at number 1, Jeff Lemire, Andrea Sorrentino, Dave Stewart, Steve Wands, Bone Orchard Mythos, Tenement. I think Tenement is amazing. Everything I've said about Lemire and Sorrentino and their work together, it all applies here. Atmospheric, tonally sound, unnerving, great character work, great sense of pace, composition, design, flow, vibe. The whole shebang is there, but this feels a little bit more, all the other Bone Orchard Mythos stuff has been focused on just one person for the most part. This one with a cast of characters, and Jeff Lemire's utilizing it so way. And this is the movie that Evil Dead Rises wished it could be. This is that story where you're actually utilizing these other characters, these conflicts and dynamics, and continuing to build the world of the Bone Orchard Mythos. So my number 1's Tenement. There you go.
Beautiful picks. And I love that they're pretty, they're different than Chris's for sure, except that one. We got World Tree on 2, both 2 for 2 there.
Yeah.
All right, Nick, what do you got for us?
Ooh. All right. So I think I'm going to introduce a couple new ones in here that we haven't talked about, which is good. At my number 4, wow, my numbering all got messed up here because I've been switching things around like crazy today. Number 4, I'm going with Kyle Stark's Where Monsters Lie, because man, that first issue, especially that first issue, that HOA meeting that they had inside that little granny's house, that the amount of comedy mixed in with the horror element, it was just a beautiful marriage of those two vibes, those two feels. And the whole story played out pretty well. And so, I absolutely love that one. Some of the twists and turns with the detective and whatnot, I thought that was handled really well. And I just love watching that whole serial killer community come together and just take care of business over there. Robbie brought up Tenement. I'm going to actually go over to 10,000 Black Feathers, because that one right there was, to me, like a nightmare in a comic book. And so a lot of their books are, obviously, but this one had a lot of different elements to it. It had a missing persons. It had a journey almost down into hell, fighting literal demons and whatnot. We still have that unifying, that circle that we're still trying to figure out. And we see it in all these other different books that are out right now in this universe. And that 10,000 Black Feathers, though, was really creeping me out, though. And they did a hell of a job artistically, writing. It was beautiful. Universal Monsters Dracula issue number 1. Man, that was just such a great book. Like Robbie said, we're only 2 issues in. There's 4. I think the next one comes out at the end of the month, if I'm not mistaken. So the majority of that series will be coming out this year. The impact that book has made already with just 2 issues is pretty astounding. And I sat there for a long time staring at that art in issue number 1, because as Robbie said, he has stepped up a whole lot in this book. So creepy. That one stuck with me for a long time. So that was really rough. But my number 1, though, I'm going to have to go with my boy Ed over at Crypto Killers. We're going to go ahead and just do Red Room. Might as well, man. That book was gnarly. And specifically the last issue in that series.
Brutal.
Was an issue that will stick with you. If you think you're getting desensitized reading the other volumes and reading this volume in particular, you get to that last issue, and all of a sudden that line you thought you had that you knew you couldn't really cross, it just gets elevated, dude. And it was brutal, a brutal issue. And man, it has horror written all over it. So those are my 4.
I genuinely had an upset stomach after I not like I wasn't throwing up, but I mean, you just felt that unsettling in your stomach, man. The descriptive art with the story, I was just,
oh yeah, it was rough.
It was rough.
Oh yeah,
but epic ending. Great picks, Nick. All right, well, I'm glad I got a couple of new ones to present here as well, but I'm going to start off with number 4. Bone Orchard Mythos Tenements. I think this has the makings to top Gideon Falls. And if you're a fan of Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino, and you love that series, you should be reading this. This is similar similar in tone to Gideon Falls, but they are playing the long game. Lemire and Sorrentino playing the long game, creating a lot of tension, a lot of mystery and intrigue. This is a slow burn, but it also gives you a chance to really know the cast of characters. That slow pace also builds like this eeriness in the tenement, what's lurking and causing all this darkness. But this book has that Lemire Sorrentino magic. It's one of the best horror offerings of the year, in my opinion. I don't mind the slow burn, and I don't always say that with comic books, but this book, it's just a treat. Every single issue is a treat. So that is my number 4. Number 3, Where Monsters Lie. I agree, man. What like the premise of this book? What if all the killers on Earth, your Saws, your Jason and Freddy's, what if they had a place that offered some respite during their time off of killing? There's a community for them to be a part of, so they don't have to be part of society. And that is the foundation of this book. But then you also get the story of the police officer who is affected by one of these killers, who took his family at a young age. He's on the hunt for the killer, which leads him to the place where monsters lie. This was creative. It used some great horror tropes, but added a twist that I felt was one of the most unique things in horror comics this year. We talked about Kyle Starks yesterday, man, but adding his flavor of humor throughout a dark horror comic like this, it was just a sight to behold. I love the whole thing. It definitely deserves its place on the list. Number 2, we haven't mentioned this one, Dark Ride, Joshua Williamson, Image Comics. When we're talking about horror comics of the year, I think one that didn't miss from issue to issue and just kept getting better. And it's basically the horror version of Disneyland. And Joshua Williamson infusing his love for theme parks and horror comics to create something that's not just about a scary theme park, but the story really is about the family that runs the park. The father, he made some sort of deal with Satan to get the park going, and now he's trying to figure out who's going to take the reins from him to take the family business into the future. I mean, but creepy things happen in this park. People disappear. There's a sense that these events all have to do with the father and his deal with Satan. But this comic just does such a great job balancing mystery and the gore that you expect from a good horror story. I love the over-the-top nature of the park, the cast of characters. Again, I think one of the most consistent horror comics from issue to issue. That's my number 2. And my last one, The Nasty, man. John Lees. Look, it's no secret. I love John Lees as a person. We got to hang out with him over at Heroes Con. That is not why I'm putting this on here. Just to clarify, right? Look, you want to talk about someone that genuinely lives and breathes horror. There is no one that has a deeper love and appreciation in a creative for that genre than John Lees. And it's so evident in his work. I mean, not only is The Nasty a love letter to the genre, but it also pays homage to a time when these video nasties were banned, particularly in John's neck of the woods. And you were not supposed to own a copy of one of these horrific horror movies in your home. And that is what The Nasty is all about. It's this group of young horror film buffs. They come together. They're trying to save their local video store by creating their own nasty video. It's so much fun. The cast of characters, and then there's that imaginary friend who's basically like a slash killer from one of the main characters' favorite horror movie. And we find out maybe he's not so imaginary as the story progresses. There's just so much to love about this series. I think when it comes to pure horror, it doesn't get better than this book. That is my number one. The Nasty Vault, John Lee's, beautiful stuff, man.
Nice.
I just want to give a shout out though to also The Devil That Wears My Face, because I really contemplated putting it on here. David Pepos on the writing, Alex Cormack. That was just right outside the top 4 for me. But
Yeah, that's got a couple issues out now, right?
I think
two,
three.
three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 are out.
It's
Yeah,
a great book. It really, really is. And great
It
pick
really
all
is.
the way around from everybody here.
Yeah.
Fantastic picks, everybody. Well, we do have one more pick. We are bringing in the community pick, man. This dude, I don't know what to say about him. He really has genuinely been with Lost in Comics from the beginning, through all the stupidity and our attempts to try to put a show together. I don't know why he stuck around for so long, but I love him, man. Welcome, Adam Janis. What is going on, my friend?
What's up, guys?
What up, man?
Janis!
So excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you, man. And I'm hoping that you. I mean, for anybody that doesn't know Adam, I should have said this in the intro, but this dude is the biggest, and we love Ice Cream Man, Robbie, but Adam has a tattoo, an Ice Cream Man tattoo on his body. I mean, he is quite possibly the biggest Ice Cream Man fan
Prove
out
it.
there.
Prove
Is
it.
Where's your tat, man?
Yeah.
Is it on your? Can't
I got-
remember if it's on your butt or not.
It is. It's on my left cheek.
Nice.
right.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Let's
No,
hope that they
it's-
really pull off the ending of that book, or you'll just be like, man.
I mean, at this point, I'm so committed that
Yeah,
Agree.
that's awesome, man.
it's gonna be hard to break my heart. But
For sure.
The book could
Well-
end with just a picture of a turd, and I would just be like, "That
Yes.
brilliant."
Yeah, I can't wait for the artisan edition.
That says
Don't
so
get
much.
You'd never know, man.
We'll read into it so hard. Yeah.
Yeah, let's look at the line work in that,
Yeah,
that
let's look at the
turd.
line work.
Like-
what does this corn mean right here?
It's the inner struggle.
It
right?
sums up the human
Uh,
experience so well.
Yeah. Right.
Exactly. All right, Adam, you got one pick, man. Best horror comic of 2023. What you got, man?
All right, so this was tough. I think Robbie mentioned it earlier. It kind of felt like there wasn't a plethora of horror this year. Good stuff though. We got quality stuff. So it was very hard to pick something, and you guys all had great picks. I went through. I took it very serious. I have this whole list.
Nice.
But there's one that stood out for me as just being above all, and that is Hauntology by Jeremy Hahn. So I don't know how many of you guys have read this. It was originally released as a Kickstarter and then shipped out early this year, and then Image mass distributed it later. I think mid-year. I don't even know what month, but sometime this year they distributed it. It's 28 short stories. It's got body horror, psychological horror. It's got everything. It's the best. So that's what I picked.
Awesome.
Hauntology by Jeremy Hahn.
Yes,
Very
he
nice,
also
dude.
Did, Red Mother. I don't know if
Red
you guys
Mother,
have read
yeah.
Red
Oh,
Mother.
yeah.
Red Mother's
Yeah.
brilliant, man.
It really good. He did a Night Terror. He did Black Adam Night Terror.
Yep.
That's right.
So he put out some good stuff this year, but out of all the horror that I've read, I'm going with Hauntology.
Yeah, I have
I
that
love
in my
that.
shop, but I haven't read it yet. You've just encouraged me to check that one out for sure.
It's amazing.
That's cool.
It's a great pick, man. A great pick. I love that you put
Thanks.
something new on the board and something that you put something out there like that. And with that name behind it, Jeremy Hahn, and it's being mass distributed, I'm sure a lot of people are going to check that out now. Very great
yeah.
pick, man.
Thank you.
Adam,
Yep.
dude, I appreciate you, man. I truly love you, man. I
love
would
you
tell you,
too.
we talk all the time, man, and I'm always just, I can't tell you how much I appreciate just your love and support, and love that you came on right now.
For life, man. I got the sticker back here somewhere. You can't really see it, but for life. LNC for life.
I want the LNC, the C to swallow the Ice Cream Man tattoo that you have, so that the C is just
I'm going to
eating
get
that.
you guys on the other cheek.
There we
So,
go. There we go. All right, my dude. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you guys very
Later,
much.
All right.
See you.
There we go. Man, good picks, man. And
Yeah.
Adam's right. Robbie's right. I feel like, I think there's some years where you have those standout books that you're like clear cuts. These are the clear cut horror comics of the year. This year, it's not that we didn't have them. It was just I felt like it was a little bit more spread out, a little bit more even level this year. So, but
Yeah,
love that,
sure.
love that category. All right, we are moving on to our next category, and this one is the best single issue. We are going to go in the same order, beginning with Chris, Robbie, Nick, and Chris. All right, Chris, on the clock.
All right, number 4, Wonder Woman #1.
Woo! There
yeah,
we go, Robbie.
Told you. I knew I'd get Robbie at this show. Tom King came out swinging on that book. He talked it up pretty big. I don't know if Robbie did the retailer interview with Tom King, but I felt like he delivered. The Sampre art was on point. It took a book that really was not selling at all, at least in my store, and I know a couple other stores, and it really put it up there. It's probably my 5th most popular book in my store now. So really got to, I got to give it to him for that one. So number 3, GCPD Blue Wall #4. Fantastic issue. You heard me talk about this series yesterday and how I felt about it, what it meant to me. GCPD #4, issue 3. Now, this one's a little bit of a shocker one. Now, you guys all know I'm a fanboy. I'm not going to deny this. I'm rocking the shirt. Something is Killing the Children #32. I'll admit, the first arc of the year, thought I was a little down. But I thought 32 might have been the best issue in the whole series. And I really thought when Tinian did it, I don't consider that book, I didn't consider it a horror book this year because he really spent the time kind of building up Erica and showing you this other side of her. And I really enjoyed it, but I thought the way he did 32, I didn't think they'd beat 25. I thought 25 was the best issue of that series. And then 32 just comes out and blows it away. So, but that would be my number 2 pick. Number 1, Junkyard Joe #3. I thought this was a fantastic issue. I spoke highly about the series yesterday. The way in which Jeff Johns handles PTSD is a lesson and something to really watch. He does it in a way that doesn't alienate anybody. He makes it very accepting. And he builds so much emotion around a robot, something you don't think has emotion. And he does it and he shows it so well. And I know a lot of that is also with the art. I'm not taking away, but I just loved that issue so much. It stuck out with me through the entire year.
Good stuff.
That issue was crazy good. When something breaks, right? And Joe kind of shudders a little bit and he crawls on the floor. Yeah. Hell of a book, man. Great issue.
All right, Robbie, now come on and trash my picks. I'm ready.
Nah, man. Your picks are very valid. Except
real quick,
for that Wonder Woman one.
There it is.
All right, are you sure you want to stick with that, Chris? No, I'm just kidding. Hey, Chris.
I'll tell you what, I did regret one of my picks in horror after talking with you guys because my number 5 was Where Monsters Lie. So.
Yeah, you could have really helped us there, man. Thanks.
Yeah.
Hey,
on Blue going first.
Blue Wall, Chris. What issue is it? 3 or 4?
It was 4.
Issue 4. Okay, gotcha. All right, Robbie, you are up.
All right, at number 4, I've got Wonder Woman #1. Just kidding. But I do have, like Chris, a book that like game changed sales at my shop on this particular title. I mean, they went up like it's ginormous. Like it's like ginormous the numbers that went up from the last issue of the series to the first. And Transformers #1 is my number 4 pick. That is such a watershed moment. We talked a lot about it last night. It was a great comic. It was a great introduction into these characters that felt familiar, but also let us know this is going to be a little bit different, right? And I did do the Daniel Warren Johnson call that the retailers had with him. And this dude, what they were talking about, him and Kirkman, were like the backbone of the series is that familiar lore. Like who Optimus Prime is not going to change. Who Cliff Jumper is not going to change. But they didn't want to use Bumblebee, for instance. So they were like, can we kill Bumblebee off? And Hasbro's like, okay. They're like, okay. But that's something that immediately lets you know that this is going to be something different. This made me feel like X-Men #1. like the Claremont Lee one. Do I think it's one of the best executed and written and designed comics of all time? No. But I do think that it was a comic book that did exactly what it needed to do in that moment. Transformers #1 is that for me. At
Nice.
number 3, Swan Songs #2, The End of a Marriage. Casper Wingard on the artwork, W. Maxwell Prince telling a very brutally honest story about the end of a relationship, not just a relationship, but a marriage. And like from the initial attraction to the honeymoon phase, to the building a life together, to the slow cracks that start forming and the ultimate breaking apart. And the way that the story is like juxtapositioning the imagery of war with a modern relationship, to me was very striking. Such a good book. And it's got some saucy pages in there that I really, really like. At number 2, Rare Flavors, issue #2. That's the spice issue, okay? That's the issue where they're in the desert. It's way too hot, right? But sometimes life can be too hot. Sometimes life can be too much and we can get overwhelmed. And we just want to retreat into the cool and warm cabin and have some nice, plain, bland food. But every once in a while, we have to kick up life with spice. And that's what this story is about. And the way that Ram V in this series, and it's a shame that only 2 issues are out so far, but I think this is going to be a highlight on many lists next year once it's complete and out in graphic novel format. But the way he's using recipes, right? Like native recipes to India and making that work in the comic book, right? Like the whole spice of life. And when it dries up or it gets too cold, and sometimes we shy away because we don't want it because it will burn. And that's right, though. If you want life to be something worth living, it's going to burn you sometimes. And it's worth doing 100%. And at number 1, spoilers, it's the one I said last night. It's Swan Songs, issue #5, The End of Anhedonia. I just think this is one of the most profound comic book single issues I've read in a very, very long time. We spoke about it a lot on the monthly comic book review last month. And just the simplicity of the story and the simplicity of the answer. Anhedonia is what? It's it's the condition where you experience joy from nothing, right? So some can say it's like depression, but it kind of goes a little bit deeper than that, where like you're so deep into it that like nothing brings you joy. And in the book, this dude through a trance like psycho state goes inside, finds his inner child, and asks the him that existed back in the day who did find joy in so many things, what made us happy? What brought us joy? And he goes, everything. And just the simple answer, how do you end a lack of joy in your life? Approach life with the eyes of a child. So honestly, you can say that all 4 of these picks are about how we can make a better life. We need to approach life like a child. We need to accept spice in our lives. We need to really cultivate and nourish the partnerships that we have. And we need to roll out, motherfuckers, because it's transforming time. Let's do it.
Great picks, dude.
That's a great list.
God, you did something that I wanted to do, man. The 2 Swan Song issues like that. Man, that's great.
All right, what does that say about that series, though, man?
Seriously.
2 nominations and 1 cat. Yeah, dude.
Right?
Heck yeah.
It was
serious,
my favorite issue.
Deserving.
It's so good.
All right, Nick, what you got, man?
All right. I approached this category, man, I was trying to think of my favorite single issues throughout the year. And I think the way that I approached this is which ones stuck with me the longest, which ones had a big impact, got me either super, super excited or just lasted for a couple weeks after I read it, right? In my mind. I just couldn't get it out of my mind. So like Robbie said, my number 4, I'm going to give it to Transformers #1, just because of the size of that issue that came out. It was on everybody's poll list when it came out, and even the subsequent printings and the variant covers and everything. Daniel Warren Johnson bringing it back the way that he did. It's absolutely incredible. Really putting a spark, pun intended, into that whole universe. And I cannot wait to see what he's going to be doing in the next few issues and in that just expanded universe in general at Energon Universe. Number 3, rather, I'm actually going to go to one. We're going to go to Nemesis Reloaded #1. I know we talked about this guy a little bit, but that issue in particular was just there was so much action in there, and there was so much. It didn't go exactly how I thought it was going to go. It was brutal. It was violent. The art in there was killer as well. I read that one 2 or 3 times that week just because it was so much fun to read that issue. I was not familiar with that character. I know they did a little bit of perhaps like a little bit of a retcon on the character, maybe, or brought him back because he came out previously. But that issue right there was just like, it just blew me away. I absolutely love that one. We're going to change it a little bit. We're going to go to Daredevil issue number 12. This is the Daredevil Elektra fight when Matt's trying to get into hell to really take on these demons and really like rescue everyone that's been trapped in there. The interaction between those two by themselves at the mouth of that cave with like the cherry blossom or whatever those trees were in the background, that dance they did, there's a whole spread where it's just tons of panels of like this beautiful dance fight choreography thing. And then his way that he tricked her in like a reverse Death of Elektra kind of a fashion. It was a beautiful book, man. That whole scene was absolutely beautiful and just very, very well done. And that's a book that stuck with me for a few weeks after I read it. I had to keep going back and checking that one out.
That's the best issue of his run for sure. In my
absolutely.
opinion.
Yeah, for sure. My number one, though, is another issue that stuck with me forever. And we talked about it at length in a couple different shows. Ice Cream Man issue number 37. This is that siblings are in the basement of I believe that one of their siblings actually took their own life. He was a cartoonist. There was this cool narrative between like their dynamic of what suicide means. Why could you do this? Well, how could you not do it with this crazy world? Kind of a conversation going on. But then also you had this really cool story, this unpublished story that this person wrote and drew that was kind of showcasing these like furry animals, like a Dr. Seuss kind of a thing. And they were up against an unstoppable, just crazy force that they just could not overcome, no matter how much they prepared. So it's almost like the tidal wave of whatever this person's facing right now, no matter what they had to do or whatever, no matter how they prepared, they just weren't prepared enough to take on that threat. So Ice Cream Man issue 37 is my number one.
I feel like Ice Cream Man just had and it wasn't so much that it had a drop. I think we just got so used to it. We just get conditioned to it being so good that, man, last year I was all about, I mean, I'm still all about it, but man, I forgot about the number 30. So that was actually one of my favorite issues of the run this year. Yeah. Man, that's a good one. All right. Great picks. Let me start mine off here with number 4, Batman Gargoyle of Gotham issue number 1. Batman, man, it's been so difficult to come up with a fresh take on a character that's been around for almost a century. But opening the page of this comic, Raphael Grandpa provided something fresh, a new concept. You know, go all in on Batman and kill off Bruce Wayne. That's the concept of this book. Batman knows his mission, and he feels that Bruce Wayne is really the mask that he needs to shed. And the story is set around that Batman Year 2 era. So Batman's still figuring out his tools and what works and doesn't. But as a Batman fan, this book had everything that I'm looking for in a good Batman story. And at that time reading this, I wasn't too hot on the detective run, not too hot on the Batman run. Of course, those have heated up over the last few issues. But when this came out, I was like, dude, this was the best issue of Batman, in my opinion, for a single issue. So Batman Gargoyle of Gotham number 1.
Yep.
Number 3, Nemesis Reloaded issue number 5.
Oh,
issue number 5. So I had never read the original Nemesis run, and when I read this book, I thought, damn, that's how you're supposed to write a villain. I mean, I'll never forget it reading it, and just in that concluding issue, you're left with no doubt how horrible Nemesis is. It explains a lot as to what happens at the beginning of Big Game. Look, I know there's a lot of people that don't like Mark Miller. I get it. I don't care about all that. I care about the comics and the stories that are being written. And this was a standout. This is one of Miller's best works of the year. Nemesis Reloaded. That villain, man. Like I put him right up there with like Homelander. You know, he's brutal, man. And that issue in particular, that concluding issue, that's some crazy stuff.
Yeah,
crazy stuff
in that issue too. Yeah.
Heck yeah. So I'm bored with that. I wish we would have had the same issue because we could push this thing through. But Next up, going back to DC, Penguin issue number 2. Some of the best issues in 2023 were villain issues and comics that really define that line between good and evil. Here's another one. This issue of Penguin, he goes to recruit the Help, and the Help is one of the deadliest assassins that's ever lived. But the Help doesn't want to leave his cozy life of retirement until, through a series of events, basically, orchestrated by the Penguin, he brings the Help to his knees. And by the end of the book, the Help is getting into Penguin's car, and he's submissive to him. The Penguin, basically, spoiler alert, just murders the entire house of friends and servants that the Help has. Brutal issue, but really just a masterful job of bringing to light, the ruthlessness of the Penguin. Tom King, known for having a lot of heavy dialogue, and that particular issue just flowed very well. It was a standout issue for Tom King, and I thought it was one of the best single issues that I read the entire year.
Now that's how you do a Tom King pick for best single issue of the year.
You got the Robbie stamp of approval, man. Love that issue. And my number one, gosh, man, this is, I almost want to change it just because it's Swan Song's number one. Swan Song's issue number 1. The end of the world, right? So this number 1 issue, though, it was our gateway drug into this world of Swan Songs. Opened it up for us, and I grappled with which Swan Songs issue to include in this category, because quite honestly, I could have put multiple issues in here, and it feels like W. Maxwell Prince. He's figured it out, man. He figures out how to write about humans, man, and what it means to be human. He knows how to encapsulate that human condition, the feelings, the nuances, the highs, the lows. And in issue number 1 of Swan Songs, you just get a real in-depth look at what the end might actually look like for a son who's about to lose his mother to an illness, but at the same time, they're on a clock for the end of the world. And that world that's built it's all painted behind Martin Simmons' beautiful art. And that art, man, mixed with what I want to see them do a book together, like a complete series. But infused with that W. Maxwell Prince, raw sense of emotional resonance. It just has this poetic sense of darkness. When you close that book, kind of like what you said, Nick, like, it's one of those ones that it just leaves you reeling. Your mind is going, thinking about it. You can't stop thinking about what you just read. And most importantly, you feel something as a reader. And for me, it doesn't get much better than that, to feel that pull, that thinking and pondering after you read that book. It's everything that I want in a comic book. Swan Songs, issue number 1. That is my number 1. Man, what if...
Is that 3 different Swan Songs in the one category?
Yeah.
Was it 1, 2, and
2 and 5?
And 5.
And 3 and 4 could have easily been on anybody's list. For sure.
All right. We are going over to our community pick for best single issue. I like this guy a lot. We haven't interacted a lot. We haven't been on a show together. We interact on Twitter. I just feel like he's got such a great sense of the world and a great sense of community, a wonderful taste in independent comic books. This guy is all about the indies, man. I think he could care less about Batman and Superman, and I love him for it. So we are bringing on our next guest from the community, John, a.k.a. Brubaker's Muse. What is going on, John?
Hey, greetings, guys. Thank you so much for having me on. And yeah, you'd be about right on the big 2 part. I've got quite the dearth of knowledge or catalog that you all seem to have. But I did. There were a couple that did come across while I was going through over my best single issue, and Human Target. Nice. Like, it could almost be like a whole kind of run, but the break in the run there kind of gave me a little bit of a pause. And then Gotham Year 1. Gotham City Year 1.
Loved it.
You guys were talking about Tom King, and I thought that, I didn't read a whole lot of Tom King, and of course, there's Human Target, but that for me was just, I liked it so much that I ordered it digitally and physically. So
Print.
If it is something that I'm really into, that I will end up purchasing, because I do a lot of digital nowadays. So
Nice.
But yeah,
What?
as
Cool.
you said earlier, I do tend to gravitate towards the independent books, and I was worried that I'd actually have some recency bias with all of this. And I went through, like, because I've been sent a bunch of books over the year, purchased a bunch of books over the years, and I had to go through and kind of whittle it down. And for me, it came down to like about 4 issues. I don't know if y'all were familiar with Trakovi. It was the Slav with no remorse. That one there.
Oh,
Remember that
yes.
guy?
Yes, yes,
Issue
yes.
3, that one was way up there in the running for me. So that was one that I kind of had to revisit as well. And then my recency bias, if I'm a big Joe fan, so I had G.I. Joe, the 301st issue. I thought that Larry Hama did a phenomenal job transitioning from IDW to Image and kind of giving it even a little bit more teeth, especially with the Chris Mooneyham artwork, which is just superb.
Mm.
And then Transformers, you guys already mentioned Transformers #1. I was a big fan of the Louis LaRosa cover, but you guys already went over that one. That was certainly in the running. But for me, hands down, I had to order every possible copy that I could get my hands on for this, digitally included. Was this guy right here. Can you see him
Beneath the
all?
trees.
What is it?
Beneath the trees.
Beneath the
Oh,
trees.
yes.
Yeah,
Issue number 1.
Yeah, it was a surprise is what it was.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if it fell through in terms of marketing, or if it just maybe it was just kind of a last minute push, but it just fell on me almost on release day. And I picked it up, and the cover of it alone, I mean, it gives you the Bernstein Bears feel to it, but yet, with a Dexter vibe as well. Yeah. And I think that Patrick Horvath, who has a background in film as well, does a fantastic job of being able to make it feel almost like you're reading through like a storyboarding. Like it's just scripting and storyboarding as you're going along, and the pacing on it is phenomenal. And the ending, and I'm not going to spoil it for anyone because this one, is fairly new, but it turns you on your head a little bit because you think you got it nailed down. You think you're going down a Dexter path. And I held out kind of until the release of issue 2 before I had a firm grasp and saying, okay, yeah, this is going to be my issue, because issue 2 does take it in a little bit of a different direction. It becomes a detective comic, and it's just I'm just so smitten with the artwork. It's just got this lush watercolor work to it, and Patrick Horvath does all of the work, the artwork on it, and of course Hassan Otsmane Oahu does the lettering, which what book doesn't he letter? And I can't get enough of it. I've ordered all the variant copies for the remainder of the series. I haven't been this excited about a series, and I don't know. I mean, I was very excited about the return of G.I. Joe, but this as a standalone series, I couldn't get enough, and I thought issue 1 just knocked it out of the park.
That is a fantastic pick, man, and I feel your excitement as you're talking about it. So, dude, wonderful pick, man. Wonderful pick. I love it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
Of course, man. Where can people find you? What's your tag?
Well, I'm on Twitter. I think it's Brubaker's Muse or whatever too, or I'm just mostly there. And then over on Blue Sky, kind of probably on the same thing, not doing too much, just spouting off about comics.
I love it. You have a great page, man. I just love your love for indie comics, and it just oozes out of you, and I love it, man. So thank you for being part of this. Really appreciate you.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much, guys.
Yeah. Take care, John.
Great picks all along.
You too.
Back at you, man. All right. So that's a great pick too. Beneath the Trees, man.
Yeah, sleeper hit for sure. Yeah.
Sleeper hit for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This time we are going to start off with Robbie. We're going over to the best ongoing series category. We'll go Robbie, Nick, Chris, and Chris.
All right, I'll kick us off. Sometimes this is a hard category because you're like, is that an ongoing?
Yeah.
Right.
Not really sure. All right. So I'm going to kick us off at number 4 with Ice Cream Man. Because Ice Cream Man's not something that I've really brought up yet this year. And I do love some of its issues. That whale issue this year was great. The one that Nick talked about was great. The one about the dudes on the train was fantastic. Like some great stuff. And Ice Cream Man continues to pluck away. Now, I do believe that these 4 issues, and I'm cool with just getting 4 issues of Ice Cream Man a year for the rest of my life, if that's what it takes. Like, I'm cool with it, right?
Yeah.
This doesn't have to come out every month. I never forget about it. It's always an event when Ice Cream Man comes out. So it's carrying that momentum forward, even though it didn't stand out because W. Maxwell Prince had another book coming out this year. At number 3, I'm going to go Sacrificers. I think The Sacrificers is amazing. I did look this up. It is billed as an ongoing series, so we'll see what happens. Of course, it will have its ultimate end. But from the get-go, I almost picked Sacrificers number 1 for best single issue because it was so perfectly well done. That art by Max Fiumara is so emotional, and the acting portrayed by those characters that he's drawing is absolutely freaking phenomenal. And the story, you think you got it pegged out. Oh, this is like Hunger Games. No, it's a little bit different. Oh, this is just about like sacrifices to God. Nope, it's a little bit different. And each issue keeps changing up our expectations on where the series is going, generating a truly compelling kind of engagement from the reader. Yeah. At number 2, Detective Comics. Detective Comics, Ram V is doing this operatic, tragic, gothic, romantic, sweeping epic right now in the pages of Detective Comics. And everybody's talking about Failsafe. Everybody's talking about Anakin Skywalker, Batman. Now they've got a robot arm or some stuff like that, right? But man, what Ram V and such a brilliant assortment of artists have been doing in Detective Comics has just been so solid. And what starts out with a very familiar story, oh, Gotham's actually got a secret history that Batman doesn't know about. There are these other people coming back to Gotham. They're villains. They want to take it over. They want to get inside Batman's head. But with the structure of the opera, and Ram V is really sticking to that structure, it's just brilliant. And then able to just switch gears in the interlude, right? The intermezzo or whatever, right? And give us this most recent arc with Jason Sean Alexander that brings that same sense, but back into like a heist kind of story, right? Like it's just absolutely beautiful and brilliant. And I think this is going to be a perennial evergreen Batman story when it's out there in paperback and hardcovers, and I think it's definitely, and it's got some of the best covers of the year as well.
Oh yeah.
But my number 1 is because I, like Mark Miller, agree that we need to generate more excitement into comics. And we need to have comics, and we need to have creators and characters that bring excitement, a level of excitement generated to bring people back into the shop, like we did when Hickman did House of X and Powers of 10. It brought people back in droves. This book is doing that, and we need to really celebrate it. So just on what it's doing right now, in the midst of all of this dialogue about what's wrong with comics, there is a book that is doing exactly the right thing, and that's Transformers. It's Transformers. This book, I get giddy when I get a chance to read the next issue of Transformers. Like as soon as I get my lunar shipment, we're opening that shit up and we're just like pulling it out and we're just going for it, man. Like I read that first issue like a dozen times at least. It is so good, and it's good on a very real level. Like it generates excitement. You look at the art, you open it up, you're like, wow, holy cow, I got to get this. It's got a good price. It's got a good quality. It's just so engaging. It's something familiar, but it's doing something different with it. And it's got heart and charm to it. And I've never, ever liked any of the human characters in Transformers ever. And I'm all about them in this one. So for me, best ongoing of this year is Transformers, because it came in with a pop, pop, boom.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Heck yeah. Man, great picks. Great picks.
Yeah. This is
Changing anything, Nick? You going for it? Yeah.
I had to make one change, and one I'm going to probably regret, but I don't care. We're going to get into it. We're going to get into it.
Do it.
Number 4 is my regret, but I think it's riding a wave of nostalgia and love for the past couple of years. And I wanted to see more of it this year. And the things that we did see didn't meet the hype, but they still had its moments. And I'm talking about Saga. So when Saga came out, when it came back out again, I was one of the most excited people out there. I could not wait to get my hands on those issues. The issues we got this year didn't quite meet the expectation, but there were moments in that book that reminded me how impactful this comic can be and how Red Wedding-ish it could be. Things could flip on an instant, and they were doing some pretty crazy things to some long-term characters in the few issues that we got. Beautiful artwork, continues to kill it in that department as well. And I'm just dying to get more of this book. It's one of the books that when it comes in, whenever it does come in, like once a quarter, it's one of the first books I'm reading, or the last, to kind of give myself some kind of a treat once you get through that stack, right? However you like to read your books. So I'm going to go with Saga. Number 3, I'm going with Ice Cream Man. Very similar book this year. Didn't have as many highs as it has in the past, but some of those issues that came out were impactful. I mentioned it was one of my favorite issues of the year, issue number 37. And so, yeah, that book right there continues to have a good place in my heart. And every time it comes out, man, I'm so excited to read that thing. I'm with Robbie. I'm going with Sacrificers. I'm moving it to number 2 because, man, that book, that first issue, arguably could have been on my list. It was on my list. I just needed to figure out what I was going to do for best single issue. But man, that first issue was written well. It was drawn well. The emotion was oozing off those characters. I've never seen art like that in a story. And you can just tell that it was a really complex story we're trying to tell, but it had a lot of like basic emotions that we all can resonate with. That just so good, so good. My number 1, though, I'm going to have to go to Detective. The last 5 to 10 issues of Detective Comics has really, really sold me. And this art we're getting in the most recent little part here, absolutely incredible. Every single issue has absolutely blown me away. And man, Detective is killing it. And like you guys are talking about, I cannot wait for like a collected, like hardcover extra size. That would be amazing on this. And I think that this run right here is going to stand the test of time for sure.
Great picks, man. Great picks.
And when you have your backup stories written by Dan Waters, I mean, your
Forget
backup stories are Dan Waters and Casper Wingard. You
Right.
know, like, come on, get out.
Maybe the only comic that has good backup stories.
The only backup stories I read, man.
Yeah, I can't do
so
the
good.
other ones. Yeah, but that one, yeah, heck yeah.
Oh, and this week's issue too. Come on,
Gosh, man,
so good.
And the crazy thing about this arc with they bringing in Jason Sean Alexander, those early Ram-V issues, I didn't really care for them. But if you stayed on from the beginning and then you read this last arc, there's so many little payoffs that make you like look back and like, oh shoot, now I got to go back and reread it. And now it is going to kind of like you said, Rob, it's that operatic feel, right? Where you got to get the whole that whole composure. What is the name for that?
Composition.
Yeah. The composite. No, Holy moly. All right. Man, great picks. I'm actually gonna adjust a couple of things. Here it is, my turn. All right. I'm going number 4. I'm going Sacrificers. I'm going number 4 Sacrificers. For everything you guys just said, and we talked a little bit about it yesterday. The art in that book, I mean, just you open up those first few pages and you're just drawn into that world. Those little humanoid creatures, the raw emotion in that first issue with that family and the father and the son and him getting taken away. It drew you in right away, and it's kept that level throughout the whole book. So I'm going Sacrificers at my number 4 spot. Number 3, I'm going Incredible Hulk. So this might be the only category where I place a Marvel book in, and I think it really deserves its place here. You know, talking about a book that just seemed to be a dumpster fire, and then bringing new and old fans back together to enjoy a Hulk book, with the addition of Philip Kennedy Johnson, bringing Nick Klein onto that book. I feel like it brought that title back to notoriety by bringing the Hulk back to his horror roots. This is a gem over at Marvel and could even be classified in the horror genre. And you've got that classic conflict between Bruce Banner and the Hulk. But the Hulk wants the power, and he is the powerhouse, and he's not going to allow Bruce to have control. But you also have this story of the monsters of the world, coming at the Hulk throughout each issue. The story of the young girl abused by her father. Now she's on the run with the Hulk, and she's being accused of murder. There's just so many great threads in this book being weaved. You got Philip Kennedy Johnson, Nick Klein, man, doing their best work, I feel, at Marvel. And I think this is the best Marvel title right now. And I think it is one of the best ongoing series. All right, that takes me to number two. Number two, I'm championing this book, man. Dream Master. I know not a lot of people, talk about it, have heard about it. I talked about it a couple of times last night. I'll reference, go listen to my comments about that book in the underrated comic category yesterday. But everything about it stands true. When I'm looking through books that I enjoyed the most this year, I keep going back to this comic book, and knowing that both Demetrios from Black Box Comics and Jonathan Hedrick, the writer, they have both confirmed that this is an ongoing series. It belongs on this list. And those dudes are doing something over at Black Box. They genuinely, they're such a small publisher, but they genuinely care about the stories, and they are trying to find innovative ways to make new characters. And the Dream Master, man, I'm telling you, it's like Sandman, but he's got a shotgun, and he's practicing magic, and it's almost like Sandman written by Mark Miller.
Back in the day, I think Tom DeFalco or somebody said Sleepwalker is going to be like Sandman done right. The Dream Master is like Sleepwalker done right.
There we go.
There you go.
There we go. And number one for me, I changed this all around. I'm giving my love to Green Lantern, man. Green Lantern, Jeremy Adams, he made me care about the Green Lantern. For you guys that watch Lost in Comics, I've had a lot of words to say about the Green Lantern, over the last few years. I've never been a fan of the character. But putting Jeremy Adams on that comic book made me pick up the Green Lantern. And then all of a sudden I'm like, am I a Green Lantern fan? Because I'm like, I guess I am now. It just brought a sense of, it brought a sense of cohesion, comic book superhero adventure to that Green Lantern title. I have never experienced that with a Green Lantern title. I've tried a few things, never stayed on long enough because like I said, I just haven't enjoyed that character in any way. But the magic that Jeremy brought to the Flash, he has brought that over now to the Green Lantern title. And I'm soaking that in. I'm drinking that up. I love it. Green Lantern. Never would have thought I would have Green Lantern on an ongoing series on a top comics of the year list. So very happy to put that at number one.
Awesome.
All right, Chris Barcombe, man, where are you going to take us, man? Wonder Woman.
I want to apologize for all the fidgeting. The cold weather and all my surgical scars, they just don't go well, and it's kind of painful. So I'm not
sorry,
trying
man.
to not pay attention. So, in case somebody
good.
noticed. I did make a switch. Detective Comics number 4. For what you said, Chris, I didn't really care for how this started with the Ram V story. But it picked up and it's made itself better every issue, especially in the second half. And I've really enjoyed this story. And I had a chance to read the most recent issue today. And I was just like, okay, they really pulled this off. And I loved the kind of like Ocean's 11 feel of it. Like I loved how they did this whole issue and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I made a swap, number 4, Detective Comics.
Nice.
Robbie, you said this regarding Transformer, and I think this is why I put this at number 3, but Wonder Woman. It brought people to a book that nobody was getting. I love Becky Cloonan. I like Michael Conrad. I have a lot of respect for them. I really enjoyed their run. But like a lot of Wonder Woman runs, it just kind of fizzled out for me. And the Tom King Retailer Summit interview was very interesting because he talked a lot about how the Batman book really affected him and how he was going to try to change to go into this and how much the George Perez Wonder Woman run meant to him and how he didn't want to embarrass himself on this run because of what that meant to him. And it was very interesting to listen to him talk about how he learned so much from doing that Batman run, which I did enjoy. I'm not going to sit here and say, but watching the new readers coming in that never get, a DC book, let alone a Wonder Woman book, really was impressive to me. And I really think Tom King, kind of like James Tynion, they picked the right artist that goes with these stories very well. And I respect it. I really like that. So Wonder Woman number 3. Number 2, I'm going Transformers. We've said enough about this book, but I mean, this is a book that had nobody really getting it, even when it ended, and it's just blown everything away. But number 1 for me, and I think this might be a maxi. If I'm wrong, you can yell at me. That's fine. World Tree. I thoroughly enjoyed the first issue. Like I said, the way in which you thought you hit the climax, the first issue ends, fantastic. I thought when that arc was over, I was like, oh, I know where this book is going. And then I see how it actually ends. And I'm like, oh, this is a level I didn't even see coming in this book. And that's what I think is impressive, because I like to think that I can figure out books pretty quick. And Tynion has kept me guessing with this book very much through. And I thoroughly have enjoyed that. So number 1, World Tree.
Great picks, man. Great picks.
Those are all great picks, except for the Wonder Woman one. Y'all are all crazy out there in the chat. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, man.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying I'm the award-winning comic book reviewer, so I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. I don't want anybody.
And we're nominated.
Throwing some weight around, man.
Yeah, we're nominated, and he's a winner. So,
well, Tom King's an Eisner winner, so I mean, I guess he probably got more clout than me. So.
Man, good picks, man. Good picks. All right. So best ongoing series for this one, we are bringing in our community pick. This dude is just a joy, man. I think he's I've seen him on your stream, Rambi. I've seen him on multiple streams. He loves comic books. Just an absolute wonderful human being. Like, he brings joy everywhere he goes. He brings positivity. It's a hard thing to find in this world. But he's become a friend of mine. He's been around for quite some time when we started the channel, but we're bringing in DC Patrol. Jason, what is going on, my dude?
How we doing? Station.
If you pick Wonder Woman, though, we're booting you right out, man. That's what
no Wonder Woman, no Tom King in sight.
DC, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing well. I'm really enjoying the show, really enjoying the picks. So glad I didn't have to do anything with single issue.
That's a tough one. That is a toughie. Yeah, for sure.
This has been tough. Just this, because I've whittled down so many books this year, and the ongoings, I don't have a whole lot that I stayed with.
Yeah.
They've ended, and
there's so few of them now.
Yeah,
I mean,
not a lot.
It's slim pickings, but there are some good ones. I'm curious. You have some good taste too, Jason. So I'm curious what you got for us.
Well, I'm here to ruin all the good taste.
All right.
So I wanted to do my own version of a top 4, knowing that they don't really matter.
Yeah.
I was surprised Kaya didn't get on for anyone. But that's all right. I get it. So that would have been my number 4. My number 3, with everyone, Sacrificers. It'll probably be number 1 in no time.
Yeah.
But my 2, and I really struggled with these 2, are the ones that I just get child giddy over. The ones that just make me go, I just want to read a comic book and have fun and get lost in all the silliness. Green Arrow, number 2.
Nice.
I have been loving what they have been putting out, getting Phil Hester back. What a treat. And I love that world.
Josh just shared that it got upgraded to an ongoing.
That's why it got
That's amazing.
here. I was disappointed. I was like, oh, that's going to be my number 1. Oh, no, it's not ongoing. I can't choose that. And then there it is,
Heck
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Good. So happy about that. But my number 1, Conan. The Barbarian.
Yes.
Nice.
It is just fun. You can read it and enjoy it, or just look at the art and enjoy it, or do both. It is pure entertainment, and it can go on forever. And I appreciate that. And I love what Jim Zub has been putting down, and the artists have been incredible.
Yeah,
I love that. Yeah,
Pure entertainment.
that was a great first arc for sure.
man, great pick, man. Great way to throw something new into the ring too. Great, those are great top four, man. I like that Green Arrow pick, man.
Oh, yeah.
Jason, man, I know you and I we DM every now and then, and I just always tell you how much I appreciate you, man. But this whole comic book community and really the world is better for your existence, man. And I'm not being hyperbolic there. There's just not enough people like you. So I just want to tell you, thank you for being you. Thank you for sharing your picks tonight, and just being Jason, man. DC Patrol, I love you, man.
You're a good man, Chris. I appreciate it all. You're all awesome. Appreciate you all.
Heck yeah, man. Have a great, wonderful night. And if you can stay on, stay on. If you got to go get to your fam, man, we understand.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, man. Take care.
Nice shirt.
Nice book.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Look at
A
that.
nice book in the background.
Yes.
He's a real one, man. He's a real
Yeah,
one.
for
All
real.
right. All right. Good night, Jason.
Later.
Take care.
Oh, man. I'm telling you, I said it at
That's
the
cool.
beginning, I love bringing in the community, dude. It's just, it's like a treat. I want to just have a big party with all of them.
It's great.
That's a great idea, dude.
Comic-Con next year, man. Comic-Con next year. We'll see. We will see. All right, man. We got some great picks on the ongoing stuff there. Now we're going in the same order for this next category. We're going to start with Robbie, Nick, Chris, and we're going to the best limited series category. So we're just talking about ongoings. A lot more selection in the limited series. Let's throw it over to Robbie.
And number 4, Seasons Have Teeth. I'm going to go with that one. I really loved that book. It kind of went under a lot of people's radar. I was championing that book, but Boom kind of had like a little bit of a downfall, I think, a downturn, I should say, this year. Not a downfall, but a downturn.
Yeah.
Like not a lot of interest. And in my shop, a lot of my Boom sales have been dropping. People are leaving. Something is Killing the Children. People are leaving House of Slaughter, all that stuff, right?
Yep.
Berserker still sells bonkers. Like it's just ridiculous how easy it is to sell Berserker to people, which is a good book too. But Seasons Have Teeth, I think, was one of the rather nuanced books that they had done in a while. I'm a big fan of Dan Waters, his use of language. I loved the artwork. You were shouting out the artist last night, Chris. I love this simple idea of it where each avatar of a season, but it represents a different part of this dude's life. And then I love how the mystery of everything, even though we don't really know it's a mystery, but we do, is like slowly revealed over the course of the series. I really liked it. At number 3, I got a Marvel book. Doctor Strange, Fall Sunrise.
Nice.
That book is absolutely astonishing to me, artistically especially. Tradd Moore, Heather Moore, killing it. Tradd Moore is amazing. Got to meet him at Heroes Con this year. Super cool dude. He spent some time chatting with me. It was great. It was a great moment. Saw him at the bar. Got to chat with him a little bit at the bar. I think Chris was there for that.
Yeah.
I love this dude's artwork. I love this book. The treasury format of it is the way to have it. It is beautiful. It is gorgeous. Is it a very complex and challenging story to wrap your head around? Yes. But you know what that means? You got ultra dense and complex story and art. You will constantly go back and find new stuff out of this. At number 2, All Against All. Alex Packnadell, Casper Wingard, and Hassan Otsman El Howe on the lettering on that one, right? Yes. Love that book. Kind of taking the idea, the trope of like Tarzan. Like what would happen if a white man was raised in the jungle and came back to society? Well, he would eventually be, like sophisticated enough, right? Because he's a white man and this and that, right? And Alex was on our show talking about this. He's like, no, we were flipping that on his head. Like he's the villain. Like he's bad because he's raised in the jungle. So like these aliens are going to think that they got the upper hand, but nah. So it's like Predator, but flipped around where the alien's not the predator, but the human is, right? Helpless is his name. And Casper Wingard's artwork, oh my goodness, always shifting and changing his style. Very clean lines and Homesick Pilots, very raw, charcoaly, textured, gritty lines in All Against All. And I remember Alex saying, he asked Casper, how do you do it? And he goes, I'm trying to stay ahead of AI. Right. So there you go. Number 1, no surprise, Swan Songs. Swan Songs to me is easily the best limited series of the year, one of the best comic books of the year. W. Maxwell Prince. And here's the thing. Next year, anybody who's on this show or anybody here who's going to be on the show next year, we'll see what happens. But whenever you're in doubt about best single issue, just pick something W. Maxwell Prince did, because he does something that most comic book writers no longer do. And that's tell a very satisfying and complete story in just 20 to 25 pages. And it is always, always stunning and resounding and profound. So number one for me is Swan Songs.
Nice.
Wonderful list.
Wow. Great list.
When you mentioned Tradmore, my brain automatically goes to that night at Heroes Con. End of the night, he's walking out of the hotel. I probably to go grab a smoke. We're leaving. We're gonna go get something to eat. We're already at the end of the night, so I was kind of barely able to get myself out the door. And I was like, "Hey, Trad, can I get a quick picture with you, man?" "Oh yeah, dude." He comes over, handsome guy, man, beautiful looking human. Comes over to me. I get the phone out and I put my arm around it, snap the shot, and I'm like, "Yeah, Tradmore, got a couple of quick pictures." I checked that picture out like about an hour later, and it's just like looks like a ghost, like we both look like ghosts, like just moving in the.
It's like he drew it, right?
Oh, yeah,
It sounds like the first comic you should work on, Chris, The Ghost of Tradmore.
The Ghost of Tradmore, yeah. So that is
Haunts
my
the bars at hotels.
dude.
in Charlotte.
Oh, he was a super cool dude, man.
Yeah.
He was so cool. And me and him bitched and moaned and complained about Marvel's trade paperback and collection like department like for a while there. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Marvel
already
do better.
Seriously. All right, Nick, you are up. Best limited series.
I have 4 new ones to consider, so this is gonna be good. And I think I read, like we mentioned before, the majority of my reads are limited series. I read very few ongoings, but so this one was particularly difficult to wrap my head around. But I'm gonna throw in for number 4. I'm gonna throw in Human Target, even though the back end of it ended in 23. Human Target was a hell of a read, man. We brought Tom King up a couple different times in here, talk about Penguin and whatnot. In the other book that he's writing right now. But this Greg Smallwood's art in that, like, you cannot deny that was one of the most beautifully drawn books. The story was really interesting. It was actually my first Human Target story that I've read, and I was glad that I did. Had a lot of awesome cameos. The story was weaving all around. There was definitely like a detective element to it, of course, because of the premise of the book, but like beautifully drawn, beautifully written. Everything about that book was incredible. And we got a few issues in 23. So I wanted to bring it in the number 4 spot because of that.
Nice.
My number 3, I brought this book up once already because it was just such a badass book. It's just a badass book. We're talking about Nemesis Reloaded. I already talked about it as number 1, being one of my favorite issues. The series in general, and Chris, you brought this up as, I think you had issue 4 or 5 as your favorite one.
5, yeah.
This was a parking lot book for me. Whenever that book came out, I was in the parking lot reading that book. I couldn't even wait to get home because it was brutal. It was maniacal. Like, this guy was twisted, and the art on that thing was insane. And I ate that book up from the first issue to the last, and it carried through to Big Game. Unbelievable. So I love that one. It was so good. So for my top 2, I had to go a little heady with this one, I think. I'm going to go to Traveling to Mars. Traveling to Mars has been one of the best books out right now, for sure. Mark Russell's on this one. It's a great little story about a guy who's terminal. He takes this opportunity to go to Mars because there's a resource there that we're going to try to excavate, and we're trying to save Earth. And he's kind of like employed by a big beef corporation, but it's really the journey there and then contemplation of his remaining days versus his whole entire life and the relationships that he's had and the experiences that he has. It's just an absolutely beautiful book. Again, it's one of those books where whenever it comes out, I'm jumping on it right away or saving it to the end, depending on what that stack looks like. And Traveling to Mars, we should be wrapping up. I think we have maybe 2 issues left, something like that.
I think
it's
so.
going to be insane. I love that book so much. So good. But my number 1, and we haven't brought it up yet, is we brought up a little bit, but not in this category yet. Junkyard Joe. Junkyard Joe.
All right.
That's all we got to say. Beautifully drawn, beautifully written, Chris, I think it was one of your picks for favorite issue, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that, about the PTSD, even like in a robot body. Absolutely incredible. The universe that we're building right now, I'm so excited for it. And man, yeah, that book it had a lot of drama. It was like a detective story at the same time. Just remarkable stuff, man. Remarkable.
Man, almost a perfect list, Nick. Man, almost a perfect list. No, that was good, man. That was very, man. You're right, but there's so many limited series now. It's like the majority of everything is limited, and so man, we've just got such a array of books to choose from. All right, I'm going next. All right, I'm going with, this is a book we haven't really talked about. I'm going with number 4, Spy Superb. Matt Kent writing, man. It's the spy story that you never knew you needed. It's a mystery thriller about a secret organization that's developed the perfect spy, and that spy is somebody that doesn't even realize that they're a spy. And the main character, he's sent on missions without even realizing he's on a mission, until he picks up the wrong phone with the secret intel. And now, Russian hit squads and assassins are after him. And he's just completely oblivious, and he doesn't have any survival skills. And the only thing that saves him is kind of the fact that he's oblivious to everything. It's so witty. It is my adventure book of the year. I mean, you get so much out of it. There's the spy story, obviously, but then you've got this kind of underlying humor. It's not like in your face. It's just kind of like a little sarcastic humor here and there peppered throughout the book. And then this character that he thinks he knows everything, and you're just kind of watching it all unfold, and you're like, dude, this guy's an idiot, but it's just so fun to watch. And then I love that story. The mystery sealed up with an excellent ending. One of the best limited series of the year, I believe. Number 3, You've Been Canceled. I can't believe that nobody else is talking about that. I thought Robbie for sure, man. But no, You've Been Canceled. When you read a lot of comics, you learn to recognize fun because you're just going through books. You're going through books, and when one of them is fun, it stands out. And you figure out, which of these books do I want to really hold on to. You've Been Canceled was one of those stories for me. It took me there. Basically, it's the future. It's LA 2050. The idea of cancel culture that we have right now, present, it's evolved through the years, and what it's evolved into. If you are cancel worthy, the stakes are a lot higher. And if you commit a cancel worthy act, you made a huge mistake in your past. You screwed somebody over for profit. You might just end up on an episode of You've Been Canceled. And this is a show that follows bounty hunters on their hunt to kill those who need to be canceled. And the best of those hunters is this old grizzled 56-year-old veteran who lives for the hunt. He's the number one hunter through this televised You've Been Canceled show. But man, this comic was one of the most memorable from 2023. It left me studying in agreement. I love the core concept of the book, but it also didn't take itself too seriously. Just one of the most fun comics of the entire year. Which I see you.
They just try to cancel you, Chris.
Yeah, you just got canceled.
No, man. Who was it? Who was the powers that be? I said the word canceled, and it's like,
yeah, and you popped
red
out.
flag on StreamYard. So that is my number 3. Number 2, I'm going number 2, Swan Songs. The book that brought us to the end of the world. We've talked about it quite a bit here. End of the world, end of a marriage, end of the end of the world, the end of a prison sentence, the end of anhedonia. And we've said quite a bit about it here. I talked about it in the single issue category. I just had such a difficult time narrowing down what issue to pick because this series was just so freaking amazing. And then some issues are very deep and dark, and other issues kind of have that light, optimistic take of humanity. And you got to love that spread, but what that series has highlighted is just real world issues that every human on planet Earth deal with at some point, some season in their life. Even if it's fiction, it takes us to let's take the end of the world issue, but going on that journey with that son and that mother, putting yourself in those shoes. I don't care who you are, you read that book, you feel something. You want to go hug your mama by the end of it, you know? That's what W. Maxwell Prince does with this, and then blending in the Martin Simmons art, and just having an array of artists that have come onto this book to kind of match the tone of the different endings. I love that comic. Swan Songs, my number 2, which leads me to my number 1, which I loved more than Swan Songs, if you can believe that. And it is Traveling to Mars. Traveling to Mars. Nick kind of broke it down as far as the story. But you know, as I'm reading it, I find this extreme relatability with the book's main character. Not that I've been through everything that he's been through, but he's like us. I mean, he's lived a life of regrets, good, bad decisions. This book can be heavy at times. It'll make your eyes get watery, maybe at a few issues. But just like the main character, you know, you're kind of left after you close the book with your own feelings of choices that you've made in your life, thinking about that. And we talk about books that kind of last with us. Those are the special ones. And you know, I love superhero comics. Not a lot of them do that for you. A book like Traveling to Mars, I'm telling you, you finish it, you're in that frame of mind, and it sticks with you. And when we're talking about the end of the year, immediately I'm thinking Traveling to Mars, Swan Songs, books that make you feel. And I'm always chasing that feeling. Traveling to Mars did it for me this year more than any of the others. That is my number 1 pick. All right.
Great picks, Chris.
Excellent. Thank you. Chris Barcombe.
All right. Number 4, Once Upon a Time at the End of the World. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, but this second arc of this series, it's a maxi series, was fantastic. I enjoyed the first arc. I loved how fun it was. But this second arc, when you see the relationship, the highs, and then you start to see the lows, and then the art itself, the colors, it's a beautiful book. Number 3, GCPD Blue Wall. I've talked about this book. I've talked about why I like it so much. I'm not going to go repeating it all over again. Nick, you will appreciate the next 2. Traveling to Mars, number 2. I think we've talked about this. I think it's pretty clear why everybody in this group is like this book, except for Robbie.
Diamond shorted me one month, and I fell behind. That's what happened.
He's on board.
Sure, blame it on Diamond. We all know they're the best. Come on. Number 1, I've talked about this book a lot. You know it's my favorite, Junkyard Joe. I don't think I'm going to say anything better than Nick said about this. Junkyard Joe, number 1, best limited.
Great picks, man. I think we kind of had some matching ones in there, so it can be a fun category to break down.
Oh yeah,
and maybe the community pick might actually make a significant difference in this one because we have so many that are in common. This guy right here, man. Every time he comes on the chat, I give him a nice shout out. His name is Jeff. He was over at Heroes Con with us, man. He is part of the crew, man. Became a very good friend of ours. Jeff Howell, what is going on, my dude?
Jeff, what is up, man?
What's going on, guys? How are you?
Good to see you, man.
Jeff Howell. Man, good to see you, Jeff.
Yeah, it's good to see you too, man. Hopefully we can get to Heroes Con again this year. It was a great time.
Heck yeah. I'm anticipating if we can just convince the Pouch. Pouch wants to go over to like New York, and he's like, I didn't really like the vibe of the city. I'm like, dude, it's a Comic-Con, Pouch. What do you want, man? Like, I don't know if you want to go party. Like, what are you looking for?
I mean, that's based on his selection of books, though, too, right? I mean,
that's true. Gun Honey, you know. So it says a lot.
But hey, great show so far, guys. Love all the picks. It's funny. So this to me, even like this is probably the category I'm in quite a bit as well. So really tough choices. But I don't think anything that's very, very different. I had a top 4 myself, even though they're not worth anything. But it's funny you just mentioned it. That's why I threw up my arms. Yeah, You've Been Canceled.
There we go.
Like you recommended that book to me, and what an ending, right? Like that's how you end a great series. That book was just awesome. I thought it was great.
That should be your pick, man. Nice having you on, man. I'm just kidding.
My top 2, I'm going to cheat a little bit, but that's okay. I call it okay. We talked about it a little bit, but like Big Game, like as far as the series of pulling all those characters into one final book, and the way that this one ended too, man, like that was a fantastic series culmination of all those stories.
Yeah.
I thought that was just a great series.
Yeah.
100%.
And we all, obviously none of those count for any points, but we've all mentioned it. We all love it. Where Monsters Lie, Kyle Starks. My goodness, what a surprise book. How great was that? Got to meet him at Heroes Con, got a signature on there. So love meeting that guy. I got quite a few books signed by him. All right. My number one pick, it got mentioned one time, and I'm going to cheat a little bit, but because I'm such a fanboy, The Nasty.
Ah, nice.
I know like this is probably, you were the only one that picked it for as far as like horror comics go, but like just this subject, just this topic, you know, of the nasties, of those films, your like childhood imaginary friend coming to life, and then like having those videos come in, and it's kind of everybody's surprised about what's happening, what's doing with the different film, the stuff they got going on. Just for me, that was just my pick. I've collected almost every book of that so far, and I wish we would have got Pillar and Pride, but I guess we'll see more about that one. But
That's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, that's that whole, it came right at the wrong time with everything that happened in Aftershock. But I love the John Lee's love, man, and I'm happy that I put it at number one. We'll see. Hopefully that'll be enough to go through on the horror side. But man, great pick, Jeff. I love it. Jeff, man, you've got a lot of stuff signed by John, and you've kind of bought into everything John Lee's, and I love that about you too.
Yeah, I got started from the show. Like I think it was just when he was talking about Crimson Cage,
yeah,
and the passion that guy had. I was hooked. I was hooked from the get-go, and I read everything after that.
Heck yeah.
Yep.
Jeff, man, you know I love you, man. I can't wait to hang out with you again. Appreciate you, brother.
I gotta buy more drinks for Robbie, for you, for David. We gotta, get some more drinks.
I need some right now.
Jeff. Drinks
That's
on
right.
Jeff.
Oh man, thank you, Jeff, man. We'll talk soon, brother.
Appreciate y'all. Thank
Good
you
picks,
very much.
All right.
That's
Later.
why he likes John Lee so much, because John Lee was like, I don't drink.
Yeah. Yeah, Jeff.
I'll just take an aqua.
Jeff
As many
is so
waters as
generous.
this guy needs. Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff was very generous that night, man. I was like, dude,
Yes,
Jeff
he
is
was.
just
Keep
heck
his
yeah.
glass full.
Heck yeah, man. All right. Great picks on that one. We are coming down to some of the big ones here, man. The creator picks. We are going over to Artist of the Year. And for this category, we are going to start over with Nick this time. We're going to start Nick, Chris, Robbie. Nick, Chris,
Man.
Chris, Robbie. All right.
This one was hard. This one was really hard.
Yeah, this is tough.
So we all could name 10 that we like. And the way that I approached this category was, again, like I mentioned before, those comics, those panels, those 2-page spreads, whatever it is that just stick with you, right? You look at that and you're reading the story, you're reading what's happening, but you're just like, oh, hang on a second, I just got to take this in for a minute. So that's the perspective I'm taking with this. We're going to start with number 4, Jason Sean Alexander for Detective Comics. These last few ones. This last issue that I read right now, there were several moments where I had that, like, I know like Liam Sharp's been in here as well a little bit, and they've been messing around together, but like some of the stuff that he's been able to put together in here, this gothic vibe that they've been able to pull off, some of the shots, the upward angles, just the way that they like do character profiles and everything, it's remarkable stuff, man. It's just remarkable. It fits the tone for sure. It's got this eerie vibe. It's all shaded in. There's some panels, man, that just linger in your mind after you read that. And I just absolutely love that. He's been on the run for a little bit now, just a few issues or whatever, but I think he deserves a number 4 spot just by changing the game in the short amount of time he's been doing it here.
Yeah.
Number 3, we're actually going to go Pepe Larez, and he's been on the variant cover game for a while. He was also on Big Game. We've been showing Big Game and that whole universe a little bit of love the last couple of nights, but that one, there are some panels in there that just stuck with my mind. There's this like fake Superman scene. It's Superman,
Oh
right?
yeah.
But they're going when the Chrononauts or whoever they are, they kind of go back and they're talking about the superhero days and whatnot, and they're showing that iconic shot of like him flying through the cityscape. It's panels like that that make me stop halfway through the story and just go, nope, I don't care what's going on. I have to sit here and just take this in for a little bit because it was just absolutely beautiful. So shots like that really do it for me. My number 2 spot, I talked about this book already, Greg Smallwood. We're going with Human Target again.
There we go.
There has never been like a more sexy noir type style book that I've ever read before. Insane. If you look at that book, he takes every opportunity he possibly can to get like a light reflection through like blinds, perfectly cutting the characters. The faces that he uses like perfect composition to kind of to sell like the emotion and the conversation that two characters are having. And you can like feel the tension between characters when he does it, like the way that he does it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely incredible. Love that one. But I think my number 1 is going to have to be Martin Simmons. The work that he did this year on Dracula so far and Swan Songs, that issue 1, absolutely incredible. We talked about Dracula a couple different times tonight. We've talked about Swan Songs all night long. The impact that he's had on those 2 books alone, that first issue of Swan Songs stuck with me for a long time. But Dracula, I remember on the monthly comic book review show, I was mentioning there's that scene where the spiders or the bugs start crawling out of him while he's talking, while Renfield's talking. It was creepy. It was eerie. It stuck with me. And it's those kinds of images, man, that just make it easy to pick who my favorite artists are of the year.
Great picks, man. Great picks. Man. All right. Well, I guess I'm next. Let's start it off with number 4. I'm going Martin Simmons. Obviously with Dracula. But there is a ton of comic book artists, but there are some that just have a unique style and a unique approach to their work, a signature style that belongs to them, and that's Martin Simmons. He's got this signature style that just brings writers to his front door, man. And when a writer's considering the tone of their book, they probably are saying to themselves, like, I want that Martin Simmons feel. And other artists are already beginning to attempt to forge, their own style based on Martin Simmons' work. He's one of the best. The issue of Swan Songs, beautiful piece of work. I mean, but also that art in the Dracula book. That book is freaking amazing, and in large part, it is due to that Martin Simmons art. So number 4, Martin Simmons. Number 3, I'm going with our boy Szymon Kudranski, man. We talked about him yesterday in the breakout writer category. But I mean, have you paid attention to the layouts in the pages of Something Epic? I mean, it is insane. The amount of precision and detail in the background, the characters' emotions, it's truly something epic, right? And I said it yesterday in the breakout writer category, but Szymon, he's a force to be reckoned with. And fun fact, I had Szymon as an Artist of the Year candidate back in 2019 with his run on the Punisher, if you guys remember that, when he did with Matthew Rosenberg. And I remember seeing his art back then and being like, holy crap, it's different, a very unique style, like just kind of like Martin Simmons. He's crafted that, he's honed his skills, and now he's mixed in the writing. He really is that one-man comic, like his imprint over at Image. Love some Szymon Kudranski. Number 2, you gotta go with Jorge Jimenez, man. Jorge Jimenez. Last year he was my number 1, but he's a freaking game changer. When he's on a book and he's removed from that book, you feel it. When he's not on an issue of Batman, when he left, Batman for that time, and you're like, oh shoot, like you felt his presence was not there, his art was not there. Nemesis Reloaded, we've talked about it a few times. I think he's currently one of the best superhero comic artists, and then he got to draw something a little bit darker outside of the DC universe with Nemesis Reloaded, and you just kind of saw his range, and he can draw anything, but dude, like I said, a game changer. Jorge Jimenez, number 2. And then for my number 1, I'm going with somebody that hasn't been mentioned. I am going Max Fiumara. Sacrificers. We've talked about this book, a few times yesterday, tonight, but this book, in my opinion, some of the most beautiful art to look at in 2023 in the Sacrificers. I mentioned it with the colorist of the pick yesterday, but when you open up that first page of Sacrificers, you enter this new world. You felt that scene with the creature, his dad beating him, and he was being taken away as a sacrifice. You could feel the pain in the little creature's eyes and the family's eyes, the sister, the attention that Max put into the raw emotion of that art in this book, I think it was the best art in a comic book this year. And he is my pick for Artist of the Year for The Sacrificers. That's my number one.
Yeah, great.
Man, all right. Let's go over to Chris, Artist
All
of
right,
the Year.
Real quick, Adam Janis asked a question. My buddy saw James Tynion at a signing. He asked him that question. It is coming back. As soon as Simmons had finished up issue 4 of Dracula, they were going right back into Department of Truth. And Tynion told him that this was probably going to be the most brutal this book has been yet. So, should be good. But going in for I do want to give honorable mention. Adam Hughes, Jeff DeCall, the covers were fire this year from these two. I really struggled to not put them. Greg Smallwood, number 4. Human Target. Whew. Man,
yeah,
fire. No pun intended. Number 3, Zoe Thorogood. I really appreciate her art. The Impending Blind, not The Impending. It's Lonely at the Center of the Universe. It's a very interesting art style, but it was done very, very well. And, you know, everything she's been doing, I'm just so happy to see more people seeing her art again, because it's really, really a unique take, and it's done very well, especially when she's doing the writing with it. Number 2, Tula Latoya. Mostly for the covers. But then this year we got not only the covers that she's known for. I mean, that Night Terror's Catwoman number 2 cover, but the interior work finally, getting to see it, the Barnstormers, the Somna. I really, really enjoyed seeing that art, and I love seeing the consistency in her style, like I said yesterday when I talked about her. So number 2, Tula Latoya. Number 1, Dan Mora. I love Dan Mora art. I was talking with Mark Wade, and he described Dan Mora as being one of the most Kirby-esque artists out there now. He is just working so fast, doing so many books so consistently. And then if he's not doing multiple books a month, he's doing a ton of covers on top of it. It seems like he always has something every week with his name on it. And the consistency has definitely been there, and I appreciate that. So Dan Mora, number 1.
Nice.
Great list.
Great picks. Great picks. All right, Robbie, you've heard of the whole panel. Break it down for us.
I actually got a couple surprises. I mean, not
All right.
surprises, but different, you know. But at number 4, I agree with you, Chris. Max Fiumara. Like, the work on Sacrificers is amazing. I picked him on my, you know, most underrated or breakout artist of last night.
Yeah.
Breakout artist of just last night. So just last night, he did some work that was really good. But no, I really think that book is beautiful. It's gorgeous. We talked a lot about it. At number 3, I'm going Daniel Warren Johnson. Because as much as we've been talking about Transformers, his art is the main reason why that book is as exciting as it is. And I know we really put a lot of praise on him last year for Do a Power Bomb, but like he still is killing it right now. At number 2, Martin Simmons. 3 issues this year, right? Just only 3 issues. 1 issue of Swan Songs, 2 issues of Dracula so far. He's just absolutely leveled up and made everybody take notice. I've taken notice. We've talked about it. It's atmospheric. It's textured. It's gnarly. It's gritty. It's mixed media. It is beautiful. And then realize that this is the same cat that did Friendo. Okay? Just realize it's the same cat that did Friendo, and it will blow your mind. At number 1, though, I mentioned him earlier a little bit because he was the artist of one of my favorite single issues of this year, Casper Wingard. Casper Wingard is my number 1 artist of this year because All Against All was like so good. Now, I love his work in books like Limbo and following him through that into things like a Homesick Pilots, right? But what he was doing in All Against All, holy cow, the color palette that he was choosing, the way that he was bringing this raw visceralness to that book through the art was absolutely phenomenal. Then he did that amazing issue of Swan Songs, and he also did some of the absolute best parts of the main Night Terror series. His Dead Man, can we get Dan Waters and Casper Wingard to do a Dead Man book, please?
Hell yeah.
That would be amazing. That would be so freaking fantastic. But to me, he's the whole package. He colors himself, does his own inking, he does it all, and he's always shifting and changing his styles, like my friend Alex Packnadell says, trying to stay one step ahead of the AI. but I
Yeah.
got to give it to Casper this year.
Nice.
Yep, for sure. Yep.
Great picks, man.
Yeah.
Wouldn't expect anything less, man.
Like I
All
said,
right.
man, there's like 10, easily 10 artists, man. It's crazy category. Crazy.
For sure. For sure. All right. For the community pick, we are bringing in the other half of Gathering of the Geeks. Yesterday, we had Chris Evans on. Now we are bringing in, I would say, his better half. Let's bring in Emmett. What is going on, my friend?
Don't do that to me, Chris. I got to do a show with him on Sunday. Don't do that to me.
Oh, you know how we do around here, Emmett. We're just playing, man. Welcome to the panel, man.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thanks for asking me, Chris, and thanks everybody for having me on.
Of course, I think you have exquisite taste in art. I've heard you talk about it on your own show, and I've seen some of the comments you've made throughout the my time following you on X, and I think this is a good category for you. So I'm interested to see where you take it.
Well, thanks for that, and thanks for the pressure, as always. My pick is Fiona Staples for
Nice
Saga, issues 61 to 67 this year.
Nice.
I think she, over the other picks that I had, is a top tier just because she does it all. She does the lines, she does the coloring. She brings the world of Saga to life. Based on Brian K. Vaughan's words. So it's pretty simple for me. It's just she brings that entire world to life. And Saga is one of my favorite series ever. So I'm just happy that it's back, even though there's long breaks.
Yeah. You could almost say she is Saga. I mean, just
100%.
When you think about it, you think about those characters, that world. I mean, more than anything, I think of that art, and it's incredible.
And he puts her name first on the title too.
Exactly.
So
right.
It's such respect from that creative team.
Exactly.
100%. Love that pick, Emmett. Love that pick. Since you were so quick, just tell us about Gathering of the Geeks again. When do you guys meet? Where can people find you?
Yeah, we're on usually every Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Gathering of the Geeks. We're on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. So just search Gathering of the Geeks and you'll find us there. Thanks, guys. Thanks so much.
Yeah, no, thank you, man. I have a ton of respect for you and Chris. I tell you guys we need to hang out more. I really appreciate your voice in the community, and seriously, again, just good people. Everybody that's coming in here, great people. And again, Emmett, happy to have you on. We got to do it again.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
All right, man. Take care.
Good pick, man.
All right, there you go, Nick. I'm sure you like that one. Fiona Staples. Fiona Staples, love it, man.
Loving it.
All right, gentlemen, we are down to the final two categories. This next one is a big one, and much like the artists, I mean, there is a lot to choose from, and we are going to the Writer of the Year category. Yes. And now for the Writer of the Year, I will begin, and then we will go Chris, Robbie, Nick. Chris, Robbie, Nick. All right. Writer of the Year. Man, I kind of like going toward the end. I'm getting used to that.
I'm gonna step back.
All right. All right. Number 4, we're going Ed Brubaker. I mean, I think we take Ed Brubaker for granted because he's like Michael Jordan, man. You just get used to seeing him do it night after night. But then Brubaker's case, graphic novel after graphic novel, and you expect the best when you read his work, and every single time he delivers. And no one writes crime noir, and no one can weave a tale like Ed Brubaker. And we don't see his name every week like we used to in single issues. We see it in books like just happen to have this here, Night Fever. I am halfway through Where the Body Was. Another hit. I'm telling you guys, I'm halfway through it. I'm itching to finish it up. I was finding reasons to go use the restroom today so I could have some toilet time and some reading time because I want to finish up that graphic novel. It's so freaking amazing. Like I said, you get so used to him because he's like Jordan. He could very well be the number 1 writer on this list every single year. I'm putting him at number 4 because he's multi-Eisner winning. He doesn't need this, but he needs to be on the list. Number 3, I'm going Matt Kent. I have just really felt his work has just really resonated with me this year. Hairball, Spy Superb, Subgenre. Aside from the work, I mean, a writer that just truly cares about the progress in comics and not progress when you hear that word, sometimes you're thinking, oh, pushing a political, cultural agenda, well, whatever, right? That's not what I'm talking about. He wants to see progress in the medium, in the comic medium. We had him on the show a couple months back, and we talked about this extensively. And hearing him talk about it, I'm like, he presented the question, basically what can be done to break the mold of how we read comics. And he's been working on a book called Ne'er Do Well, where you read the panels basically from up to down, left to right. So instead of going this way, you're going like this. I mean, maybe that's not, it's like, you want your traditional ways in some things, but he's trying to break that mold. But what it is he's being creative. He's got a magazine size book. Not all of us like there. He doesn't fit in our boxes. But he's trying new things is what I'm getting at. And it's not just about what you're reading in the book, but he's just an absolute creative genius. The products you hold in your hand, it's the result of Matt Kint's creative mind. He makes every decision for the Flux House imprint. And he's trying to, and the whole point of doing this and talking to him is he doesn't want things to get stale for the readers. There's this whole conversation that has been going on about comics. Are they failing? It's people like Matt Kint that are pushing the medium on, and not with, criticizing things, with actually doing the work and the heavy lifting. I love that. His writing mix of wit, humor. He's got multi-genre stories. Number 3, I love it. Matt Kint, number 3. Number 2, W. Maxwell Prince. We talked about him quite a bit, man. We talked about Ice Cream Man. We talked about Swan Songs. What's it mean to be human? The good, the bad, the ugly, right? And somebody told me one time in one of my videos on the top 3 that I am hyperbolic when it comes to W. Maxwell Prince. So like ease off a little, Chris. You're so hyperbolic when you talk about W. Maxwell Prince. I'm not going to apologize for that, because I want to be hyperbolic. I feel like I don't say enough, even though I say so much about him, and I will double down on that. When you read his work, you figure, man, W. Maxwell must have gone through some stuff, or he's going through some stuff in his own life, and he's used it to fuel his work. And an incredible creator. We had him on the channel this year too, and hearing him talk about that and kind of his own life experiences, what he's brought to the table, it's one of a kind. It's unique. And not to mention, he's a wordsmith also. He has a love and appreciation for the English language, infuses that in creative ways in the Ice Cream Man, in Swan Songs. Just a wonderful, wonderful writer. That Swan Songs, I can't say enough good things about it. Definitely a favorite of mine. My number one, I'm going Mark Russell. Mark Russell, we already knew Mark Russell could write, but this year, 2023, he's taken it to another level. I think he's really shown his range with Traveling to Mars. He's not just that witty, sarcastic writer that kind of speaks and calls out things in the system. That's kind of what we've gotten to know him as. And he's still that, and it's what we love him for. But Traveling to Mars, he showed a very vulnerable side of his writing that I hadn't seen in his stuff until this year. And while he's producing this comic, Traveling to Mars, what I consider to be the best work of this year and of his life, we're also getting Rumpus Room. We're getting Second Coming. We had Superman Space Age that ended earlier this year. Yesterday, he announced on social media he's doing a Batman book, Dark Age. It's something similar to the Superman Space Age book. I cannot wait for that. That's coming in 2024. But you see the doors that are opening from the work that he's done this year. It's incredible. He's on fire. I'm there for the ride. Mark Russell, number 1 for my writer of the year.
Yeah.
All right.
Great picks.
Appreciate it. And we will go over to Chris Barcombe, writer of the year.
All right. Number 3, kind of a comeback for this person, I think, because I think they kind of dipped and now they've kind of come back. Scott Snyder, Barnstormers. I just read issue 2 of Dungeon. Solid book. I think it's going to be definitely a horror contender for next year. Canary, really enjoyed the first issue. And I also like what he's doing with the whole Dark Spaces line. I know he's got some editorial over top of it. So Scott Snyder, number 4. Number 3, Mark Russell. Traveling to Mars, fantastic. Thoroughly have enjoyed Rumpus Room. I really like what he's been doing, but Traveling to Mars just sticks out for me. I'm going to get all the hate from the group chat. I don't really care about this. Tom King. Quantity.
No
Human
hate, man.
Target, fantastic. Danger Street, like I said, I've started to read it just for the narration. I've gotten through that book. Animal Pound, the Ash Can was fantastic. Penguin, solid. What he's doing with Wonder Woman, bringing people back in. Tom King, number 2. And number 1, I went with James Tynion. The quantity of work this guy puts out time after time, and the consistency in which it's done. The Christopher Chaos book, Deviant, Dracula, World Tree, Something's Killing the Children. He's always working, and it's always very, very good.
Great picks, man. Great picks.
Yeah.
Going over to Robbie, what'd you think of the Tom King pick, Robbie?
I didn't mind it. I think he's
I
done
like
great, stellar work this year. Human Target, Gotham City Year One, and Penguin are amazing.
And I forgot Gotham City Year 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are
Gotham
great
City Year
books.
1, man. Yeah.
Hey,
And even his, I hate the way it's being published, but his Joker story with Mitch Gerrits and Batman Brave and the Bold, like I'm digging that. Like,
Why'd they do that, man? Why'd they do that? Get that number 1, get that first, and then split it
The
up.
only thing that I don't like about Tom King this year is his Wonder Woman run and the essay at the end of his Animal Pound Ash Can. Like, those are the only things, really, honestly. Other than that, I think Tom's a good dude, man. So,
heck yeah. All right, Robbie, writer of the year, man.
oh man. All right, number 4, I'm going Jason Aaron, because I think Jason Aaron, if we did a comeback award, like comeback writer of the year, Jason Aaron might get that, because I could not handle his Avengers run after a while. However, this dude is killing it on Once Upon a Time at the End of the World. Chris mentioned this, right? Like, that second arc was so solid. I mentioned it last night. We all mentioned it last night. A lot of us did, right?
Yep.
But his work there, his work on the Punisher.
Yeah.
I catch a lot of flack for this sometimes on my channel from certain members of the PCP Army. But his work on the Punisher, that's one of the best Frank Castle books I've ever read outside of Punisher Born. Like, it is top-notch stuff. And I think he was doing something with the Punisher. He actually cares about that character. And also that first issue of Batman Offworld. Holy freaking cow.
Yeah.
What an
So
energy.
good.
And I've read his first issue of Action Comics. I think being at DC is going to revitalize him. Like, what we thought was going to happen to Bendis, I think is actually going to happen to Jason Aaron when he moves over to DC.
Nice.
Yeah.
At number 3, Rom V. Rom V killing it with a new creator owned this year, Rare Flavors, a book we'll talk a whole lot more about next year.
Yeah.
I guarantee it. But his work on Detective, very solid, very sturdy, plucking away, making it happen. And he's got a lot of stuff happening in 2024. He'll be joining PCP early January to be talking about some of that.
Nice.
At number 2, W. Maxwell Prince. Because whenever you are struggling during best single issue of the year, all you got to do is just pick one of his books. He's doing what most comic book creators don't do. Tell a really great story in 20 to 25 pages that goes beyond just being fun, goes beyond just being cheeky, goes beyond just being dark and moody and atmospheric, but actually says something about the human experience. But number 1, Daniel Clowes. Daniel Clowes is, to me, one of the absolute best cartoonists we have ever had. If you've never read his work, like Ghost World or Like a Velvet Glove Cast in Iron or Patience or David Boring, if you're a comic book fan and you haven't read the work of Daniel Clowes, you owe it to yourself to do that, because this is a dude who loves the format of comics so much and is so meticulous about his craft. He does it all. He's a writer. He's a letterer. He was my letterer of the year last night, but he's my writer of the year for his work in Monica. Out of everything that Daniel Clowes does, I think his writing is the best thing that he does. He is an Academy Award nominated writer, y'all. Okay? Because his graphic novel, Ghost World, got turned into a movie, and he co-wrote the script with Terry Swigoff. Monica is such a great book where it's a bunch of vignettes that are kind of like mimicking EC comics from back in the day, and they all feel very disjointed and disconnected at first, and by the end of it, they all come together. And then the second time I read the book, it really felt super cohesive, Nick. And then the third time I read it, I go, this is the best book of the year. This is one of them. This is absolutely amazing. This is Daniel Clowes at peak perfection. So I'm going with him number 1.
Whew.
Love it. You always do this on the writer of the year. You really champion somebody that people need to read. I love that, man. Good pick.
And
Good
he's
picks.
been working in this industry for decades. So
Yeah.
y'all, I highly
Yeah.
encourage you. A good entry point is Ghost World. Ghost World's a great entry point to him, but Monica
it is.
is brilliant.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
he's like Tool, you know. He comes out every few years and just blows the scene away, right? It's just it's undeniable. Great pick.
Absolutely.
Heck yeah.
Great
I like
pick.
this. I like this comment here. I appreciate what all 4 of you are doing. There's support and encouragement between yourselves and even us community pick. Heck yeah, dude. This panel is it's great people, man. So
Yeah.
100%. All right, Nick. Writer of
My
the
turn
year.
already. I'm not
Man.
ready for this.
Last up, man.
Klaus is a great pick. Yeah. If I had to do like a shoe in right now, if I had to change anything, I would add him, because that book, the way that he weaved all those stories together. You're right. After the second and third read, I read it a second time and like unbelievable. So honorable mention number 5 for sure.
I mean, you can put him in there, Nick. You can still do it, bro. Come on.
I know. I could. Because once you brought that up, I was like, oh man, this sounds like a really good. You know what? I'm gonna do it. I'll
Don't be pushed, man.
No. I'm gonna do it because
No, do it, man. Do it.
After that's you read that book the first time, and you don't quite understand how everything is connected in hell. To be honest with you, even after the second time, but you have the luxury of understanding how the story ends when you're looking back at the second time and reading through it, so you can kind of make some more of these little connections here and there. And it's a book that's really hard to understand through the first read, like I said, but there are still a couple parts that I'm still a little confused about, but I just love the overall story that he has there. It's a brilliant book. It's like an unreliable narrator at some points. The amount of time it takes to craft a story like that and weave it all together and have it make somewhat of sense, and it makes you want to read it the second and third time. That what a project that he put together. So I totally agree. It deserves a spot on the list for sure. So I am going to sneak him onto the number 4 spot. The question is, who do I bump from my original?
Yeah,
4?
you just talked yourself into number 4. I like that. Yeah. All right, keep going.
I am gonna drop my number 4 that I had. I'm not even gonna tell you who it was because that's not fair. My number 3, I'm gonna go into Ram V for Rare Flavors, for Detective Comics, for The Vigil. Oh my god! So all those books were insane. If you haven't read The Vigil yet, it almost made my underrated comic series pick as well. Definitely check that one out, especially if you like Doom Patrol style books, if you like Suicide Squad style books. Really interesting book with a cool little cast of characters that he put together. Very, very cool. Ram V, we talked about him all night. He's in my number 3. My number 2, I'm gonna have to go to Mark Russell for Second Coming Trinity, for Traveling to Mars, for Space Age. We talked about all those books already all night long. He is a must read right now. Absolutely, especially for Traveling to Mars. My number 1, not a real big surprise, W. Maxwell Prince. Swan Songs, Ice Cream Man, especially Swan Songs. Incredible work. It's a must-read title. Insane stuff, man. W. Maxwell Prince, number 1.
Beautiful list, man. Beautiful list. I love that. All right, man. That was a nice little mixture there, Nick. You really got things shaking there. All right. Well, we've got a community pick. This is another member of the community. All that, dude. I think he works harder at doing what we do, you guys, that we do this all the time, right? This dude is just all over the place. He's all over everything: YouTube, X, TikTok. Just when I get the chance to actually listen to him, he's just so insightful. Got great takes, great personality. I like to bring him in, and I like to go buzz, baby. What is going on, my friend?
What's up, guys? That's so kind. That's so kind. That's so kind of everybody. Wow. Does that sound like $500? That cost me $500 to do that sound effect. I want everybody to know I bought that just for the show.
Did it really, man?
No, well, it does other things.
Send me that link, man. I mean, I'd pay $500 for that.
Right. It's worth it. Hey, hi guys. This has been so fun. I'm just like ready to buy a whole bunch of books tonight that I like knew about but didn't know about. Right? This is just sitting in this green room is going to cost me some money.
and back at you, man, because like you are such a champion for like independent comics and smaller publishers. I see some of your stuff. Like when I catch a TikTok review, I'm like, dude, I never heard of that. It sounds freaking amazing. And then you get the creators on talk about it. I'm able to dip into those sometimes when you're live. But again, a champion for independent comics. I love that. You have my respect, dude. So right back at you, man.
Takes one to know one, you know, it really does. And this, like what you guys are doing these last 2 nights and then the big show later, like the one that I did 2 years ago, I did a little bit of planning and it was very stressful. It was very chaotic. It was really intense. So like to do this every year, to pull it off at the level of which you do, and you bring people together, like just real kudos to you. And I really appreciate the opportunity. And it's been fun, like listening to you guys talk about comics all night. Like,
appreciate you, dude. Heck yeah, man. All right, Blake, man, you're on the clock, man. Writer of the year. Ooh, what do you got for us, man?
This was hard. So like my list came down to prepare the judgment, drum roll, Tom King. And then I'm really into Josh Williamson, who's having a real good year.
Great year.
And also like I am very impressed with and have gotten to know Mark Russell doing this for a couple years now. And Mark Russell has come up several times tonight, as he well should. And so I was gonna go Tom King. I came on tonight planning to go on a strong TK. I just read Animal Pound. Boom sent out their press emails, right? And like We 3 is one of my favorite comics, and this is very different, but it's very like heavy and intense and quirky simultaneously. And so like I'm very excited for that. Even though I know it comes out like next week, but anyway, still I was gonna go TK, right? But I'm gonna use my vote for good. And I'm gonna go Mark Russell. I'm gonna go Mark Russell. Traveling to Mars is one of the most special things in literature, period. Right now, right? It should be studied everywhere. It should be heralded. I hope they come out with a really great collected edition. I hope Ablaze is able to spin up some additional hype once it comes out in like collected formats. More people need to be reading it. Ablaze is a cool publisher. They're doing it right. And that's just one of the little things he's doing. Like you guys mentioned, he just announced a new Bat book with All Red. He's got Serial. He's got the Trinity book. Like he's having he's been having a great couple years too. So yeah, I'm going Mark Russell, and I think does that put him in the lead? Does that put him in the lead right now?
You definitely put him over the top. Yeah.
Yes. You know, the one thing about Traveling to Mars is maybe Mark Russell should have released an ash can explaining in the back how important the book was going to be and how it should be discussed for hundreds of years.
Oh, dude. That is the way you use a community pick, Blake. Man, I appreciate you, dude. Tell everybody just real quick, what you do, where they can find you.
Blake's Buzz, anywhere, everywhere, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, X, Facebook, all that good stuff. I interview a lot of creators. I also work at Metal Ninja Studios. We're a production company. So we like help people put comic books together and print and letter and edit stuff. I just live and dream comic books and do a whole bunch of live streams and bounce around and nerd out with, some of the people in the chats and Chris and some of you good people a lot. So very, very, very lucky to be in that position. Thank you all who are following me now, and anybody who hops on the show. Always happy to have you.
Heck yeah, man. I know we missed each other. We were gonna do a little hangout a couple months back. We gotta make that happen, dude.
We do. We also have to get my co-host. My co-host got addicted to disc golf, and so
I'm like, where's he been? Yeah, Cole, man.
He started a whole new YouTube channel. Like, Cole, I love you. No, wow. He's around.
Come on, Cole. Come on.
Man. Like you do. You get to 1,000 on YouTube, and then you're like, I'll just start another channel.
Get another 1,000, man. All right, Blake, man. Thank you for coming on again, man.
Thank you, guys.
My
It's
hats
been
off
fun.
to you. Yeah.
No, and like awesome picks, awesome comics. Everybody needs to follow all these guys. Yeah, and I'm gonna keep watching. Yeah, thank you so much.
Heck yeah, man. All right, Blake. Take care, brother.
Bye, guys.
Later, bud.
All right, Jeff Howe. He's got to go, man. I understand. You have a wonderful night. We are on the last category, if that makes a difference for you, Jeff. But man, that definitely he could have really helped you there, Chris, with the Tom King, and that is how you take the power and really use it and really just stick it to Chris Barcombe, man. Stick it to Tom King. I'm just kidding. I actually really enjoyed Tom King's work, to be honest with you.
Me too, man.
Yeah, I know we get in these little, tussles, but we love good comics around here.
I think Tom King was better this year than Mark Miller.
What? No.
Ooh, nah. No. Lost me there, man.
He's
Lost me there.
Best breakout writer.
Mark Miller, breakout writer of 2023.
Tom King is my breakout writer. I want to change it. Tom King's my breakout writer for Penguin #2.
Oh, dude.
It's fair.
All right. We are going to our last category of the night, gentlemen. We are going to the best comic series of 2023. Which series did it the best this year? This is a good one. This is what it all comes down to. Last category. I am starting this off once again, and we are going number 4. Night Fever. Night Fever. This book, man. I went back and tried to, as the award show as the nomination show is approaching, I'm trying to go back a couple of months before and trying to catch up on things or reread things. And this book just stuck with me. It puts you in a real mood for adventure, for living. The story of a middle-aged guy, stuck in a career that he never wanted, takes a trip overseas and decides to use this trip to let loose, to be the person that he's always wanted to be. He ends up gambling, he's taking drugs, he's being kissed by another woman, and ultimately waking up to wonder if he killed somebody. I mean, it gets crazy. But by the end of this book, the main character, he's left with a gratefulness and a gratitude for his simple life, his wife, his family back home. He's laying there in his bed at the end of the series, at the end of the book, and it just comes full circle, that whole book. But it's told in only a way that Brubaker and Phillips can tell it. That is the creative team at their best, with colorist Jacob Phillips, which was nominated yesterday for Colorist of the Year between Chris and I. Night Fever, number 4. That is a freaking amazing book. Number 3, I'm kind of taking notes from you, Chris, because I never used to use graphic novels or larger books like this, but I'm going with I Am Stan. I Am Stan. Robbie turned me on to this when we had the end of the month show on Robbie's channel. Said we should read it. I heard Nick talk about it, and I'm like, I need to read this thing. I read it, and I was blown away. Blown a freaking away. I couldn't put this book down. It's got a good little thickness to it. I read the whole thing in one sitting. I was like, leave me alone. I'm into this. The art, the writing, the attention to detail, highlighting the years of Stan's life, and not just his life, but who he was in his core, at his character, getting into the lean times before he made it, but also following that journey throughout his life and career. As someone that loves comic books and the history of comics, I consider this a must-read for a comic fan. Not only the contents of the writing, but the ridiculous artwork in this book. The things that Tom, is it Scioli? Tom Scioli. What he does with sequential art, man, in this book, stunning. The art takes you on that journey along with the words, but this is undoubtedly one of the best things that I read this year. I Am Stan at my number 3 pick. Number 2, Swan Songs. I mean, we've talked about it over and over. The End of Blank. I think W. Maxwell Prince needed something new to challenge his thinking. He'd been doing Ice Cream Man over the last few years, and he just broke it open with this series. For everything we've already talked about with him and this book, number 2, it is definitely one of the best things of the year. And number 1, Traveling to Mars. Traveling to Mars, Mark Russell. that we talked about what it's about. He was also nominated for an Eisner for Best New Series with this book, and Mark Russell nominated for Best Writer from the work in this book. This book has been a staple on my top 3 that I do every single week. Shout out to the top 3 every Thursday morning, 8 a.m., 8:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I am constantly talking about this book, even before it was nominated as an Eisner. I tell you guys, I'm constantly chasing this feeling in comics that I want to feel something. When I put that book down, I want to be like, man, that hit me. It made me think. It stays with me. That book, Traveling to Mars, did that every single issue. And it's one that I look forward to when I read my stack of comics every time it releases. I love that book. It is my number 1, my favorite comic of 2023, Traveling to Mars. All right.
I'm so proud of you, Chris.
You like that, man?
Yeah, that's a solid list, but I'm really glad you put in the IMC. I'm glad you read it and liked it so much.
I got it. I read it. Like I said, I couldn't put it down, man. Like,
have you read the Jack Kirby one yet?
No, I haven't. But now I
get that one.
I have to. Yep. So, man, love it. All right, Chris, you are up, sir.
Okay. Number 4, Penguin.
All right.
Number 3, going Human Target.
Ooh.
Number 2, Animal Pound Ash Can.
Whoa.
Wait.
Whoa.
What's happening right now?
Okay. In all seriousness.
Oh, Chris. Like, look, the look on our faces.
4, for real. Number 4, for real. Traveling to Mars. I think we've talked about this book a ton. I don't know what more can be said about it. Number 3, for real, Transformers. We have talked about this book a ton. What more can be said? Number 2, this will be a shocker one, World Tree. I talked about how much I really enjoyed this book, how much I enjoyed the opening arc of this book. It's really, really well done. If you want a good, shocking book, or as Robbie said, a lot of nudity, this is the book. Number 1 for me, though, was Junkyard Joe. I just thoroughly enjoyed this book so much that I couldn't not make it the number 1 book for me this year.
Great list. All right, so Junkyard gave a lot of.
Did you like more?
I like the first list a lot more, actually, to be honest.
That would have really thrown things off, and probably would have got you exiled from this panel for the next year.
Target was really good.
Oh, but what
next year, Chris and Tom King would have their own end of the year nomination
on reward show.
Oh, dude, I love it,
man.
Just
nominate himself.
That's great.
All right, man. Going over to Robbie. Best comic series of 2023.
Number 4, Transformers, because it brought excitement back into comics. It's bringing people back into the shops, and this is what we need more of. We need dynamic creators who are super positive and excited about this industry and excited about the medium, working with licensed material and doing something interesting with it and different. And we need publishers to allow the space for this to happen. So Transformers needs to be a learning moment for Marvel and DC right now, in my opinion, in all licensed comics. So there you go. At number 3, Swan Songs. So much love thrown out to this book tonight, all deservedly so. Amazing artists, amazing stories. W. Maxwell Prince still killing it year after year. Number 2, I Am Stan. Tom Scioli.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you, Chris. I love this book so much. And here's the thing. Tom Scioli is totally in the Kirby school of comic book art and comic book writing. He has made a career out of taking Kirby's energy and style and appropriating that to his own style and his own perspective, and really building upon the foundation that Kirby laid, which is the foundation of modern mainstream comics, right? So when this got announced, I was really, I was down for it, but I thought it would be a very scathing kind of biography on Stan Lee. Because usually when you have people that are in that Stan Lee or Jack Kirby camp, and by the way, I'm pro Camp Kirby 100%, but I understand and respect Stan Lee and what Stan Lee accomplished and what he represents and how he changed this industry for the better and for the worse. But that's kind of part of the life of someone who's so so much a figurehead of an industry. And you can't even think about that. Like in film, there's nobody like Stan Lee. Like in comics, Stan Lee is like the name. There's nobody in film like that. Like we've gone beyond those days. You know what I'm saying? Like there's not that one figure that like represents film or novels or television or music, but there is for comics, and that's going to be for a lot of people Stan Lee, but it definitely should be Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. That being said, this book does not do what I feared it would. It doesn't just come at Stan Lee with a very critical eye, but it's telling a very balanced, nuanced story that is tragic, that is brutal, that's real. And what I love is that it's not just trying to tear Stan Lee down, but it's also not just putting him up on a pedestal and delivering that mythical tale that Stan Lee so meticulously crafted over decades. Right? So it's a very real story about a man who had a lot of flaws and a lot of talent and changed the industry for the better forever. So it's such a great celebration, but also just a very solid, like if they did a Stan Lee bio, it wouldn't be as nuanced or as real as this. Number 1, Monica by Daniel Clowes, published by Fantagraphic Books. I love what you said, Nick. Daniel Clowes is the tool of the industry. He puts out a book every 8 to 10 years. And when he does, it's one of the absolute best things that there ever has been in this industry. Monica is no exception. It was well worth the wait. It is him being even more ambitious as a designer, as a letterer, as a colorist, as a penciler, as an inker, as a writer, as a comic book maker, a cartoonist, truly doing it on his own since the 80s. He's never done it not on his own. And it's time for this dude to shine yet again, because it's the planetary alignment is hit. And now we got a new Daniel Clowes book. And now it's the only bad thing about it is we're not going to get another one for probably 10 more years. So, but we can keep relishing and cherishing his books. Every time you read his books, they have a new dimension, a new layer. Monica, though, wow. Like Patience is an ambitious project. Monica even more so. And it may not seem like that on the surface, but when you really get into the technical skill and craft involved, as well as just the structure of that story and how it's reflecting and representing past comics history, but telling a story that's not rooted necessarily in what most people consider comics, it's absolutely amazing. It's fantastic. It's ageless. It's timeless. It's perennial. It's one of the best books of the decade. We got Monica. Come on.
Man. I know what you're doing, Robbie. I know what you're doing. Getting Nick on trying to get Nick on board there.
No, this list was made a while ago. This one I actually didn't make any adjustments to, thankfully.
All right, man. Nick, you are up. Good sir. Best comic series.
Another very tough one. There's going to be some overlap for sure on some of these. So my number 4 spot, I'm going Junkyard Joe.
Nice.
Junkyard Joe, Jeff Johns, Gary Frank, Brad Anderson doing some amazing stuff, continuing that whole universe that they're spinning up, giving us some context, giving us some backstory on the character himself, the creator, based on the interaction back in Vietnam. I loved that interaction right there. That was enough already to get me on board, but having them reconvene, get him to collaborate again later in life, and then have this drama unfold as well as people are trying to find Junkyard Joe again. Just a great way to tell a story. It was complex, a lot of emotion, beautifully done. So Junkyard Joe is my number 4. My number 3 was actually Monica. This was the category that I was going to represent Monica in, because like you said, Robbie, it's just the amount of complexity that it would take to put a book like this together, all those seemingly disparate stories, even the ones that seem like, where the hell did this one come from? They all have the same kind of themes involved here. And they're like little ancillary stories to other characters that are involved in this overall epic story. So it's just a really well put together book. 100% him, comes out every 5-10 years and just blows everything away. Very, very worth it. Definitely check out Monica or anything Dan Clowes is putting out for sure. Number 2, we talked about this book all night, Swan Songs. There's one weak issue in that whole story, I think, but Everything else has been absolutely killer. It sticks with you. We've mentioned that book all night long. And number one, Traveling to Mars.
Yeah. Love it.
It's
Enough
the
said.
sentence issue, isn't it, Nick?
What's that?
It's the sentence issue, isn't it?
It's the ad lib issue. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's how good that series is that I thought that was a good issue, but not quite on par with the others.
It was a good issue.
If that was an issue of Amazing Spider-Man, it would have been pick of the week.
Yeah.
I think what could have saved that issue is if there was reader interaction with that issue. If we could determine the fate of that issue via ad lib, I think that would have been really something to figure out, and really something to make that book pop. But still a good issue, but one of the best series, hands down.
Hands down. All right, man. Great picks. This community pick could make a difference here, depending on what it is. And for this one, we're bringing in. There's a couple of people that have come onto this this community pick that I really genuinely want to get to know more. I've seen this guy interact and make a lot of interactions on Instagram. I've seen him on the end of the month show with you last month, Robbie. He's a Marvel character. He calls himself Dr. Doom. He's got a fascination with Dr. Doom. What is going on? Our dude, Stu.
Station, guys. Man? What's up, guys? Robbie, your hair looks like shit.
Oh, fuck you.
It's award-winning hair, brother. You better watch your damn mouth.
Bro.
Oh, man.
Hey, somebody's got to kick him down a notch. It's so good to be hanging out with y'all. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for inviting me on tonight, man.
Yeah, of course, man. Happy to have you.
Yeah, I would cast an over the top ballot for Traveling to Mars, but I knew I was going to be following 16 votes. I wanted to bring up books that probably weren't going to be brought up. So I have a two-parter real quick. Punisher, dude. Punisher was such a brilliant reinvention of this character. I'm a meat and potatoes guy. Like the Garth Ennis, Steve Dillon run is forever for me, but the expansion and exploration of this character was amazing. Size's art was incredible in the main storyline. As Asita with the flashbacks was so dope. I thought how Maria went from this resurrected non-factor to like the personification of his reckoning was super sick.
Yeah.
Issue 10 in particular was a highlight for me where he was cheating on her with like going to Rikers and watching executions. That was such a brilliantly written issue, and I would definitely throw that in the ring for my issue of the year. But yeah, man, I think Aaron, what he did with that character in that issue in 12 issues or in that series in 12 issues was amazing. I thought it would be a fitting end to Frank Castle, honestly. I know that we're going in this new direction with the character, but if that was the last story we ever got for Frank Castle, I'm okay with it. Like, I thought that was just so brilliant. So I definitely wanted to shout that one out. Shout out to Robbie for bringing up Jason Aaron and the best writer around. The other one, the
hair comment. I'm still not over that.
you bitter bitch. I love you. Dude, the one W. Maxwell Prince book that nobody's been talking about, Art Brut. I know it's a re-release, but that book was so much fun, man. Going through that world of paintings with Marazzo, like I just love the backup stories with Manny the Mannequin. That was such a cool, fun book. Just another insight into one of comics' most brilliant minds. So those are my two humble picks. If I was going big time, I'd go Swan Songs or Traveling to Mars. Those have definitely been always top of my heat. But I just wanted to try to add some variety to the mix. And thank you guys so much for having me.
Oh wait, so which one's the pick?
What is the pick? You mentioned 4 books, bro.
Yeah.
So definitely Punisher. Punisher for sure.
Oh, Punisher's your pick. Okay. All right, man. I'm like, nice. Wait a second here.
Wait. Don't leave.
Well, no, it's just like, dude.
He should have just listed 5 books and said, your hair looks like shit. I'm out.
All right, fuck you guys and go.
Swan Songs has been mentioned like in how many different categories?
Every one of them.
And like, I just wanted to, a couple.
That would have been epic, man. Your hair looks like shit. Blah 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 blah. Bada bing, bada boom. I'm out.
Here's 5 books. Boom.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
You guys figure it out.
Oh, dude, great pick, man. absolutely. You know what? I'm surprised we didn't hear more about the Punisher, but I guess that is one other thing that Marvel did right to this year was the Punisher, man.
I knew that one was going to slip through the cracks. So,
yeah, 100%. Stu, man, I said it at the beginning. I want to hang out with you more. I know we'll hang out more at the end of the month show with Robbie on his channel. But man, pleasure having you on, dude.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
Great insults, man. I love it. I love it.
Love you, bro. Love you.
Hey, Stu. Hey, real quick.
Mic sounds great, man.
Where can people find you, man? What do you do?
Tuesday nights, me and my brother Link, we review like 6 to 7 new comics from the past week with Supreme Clientele. Other than that, I love to create content and just do throwbacks from my collection on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and
heck yeah.
Stay in touch with that community. But yeah.
Beautiful, man. Station, man. Thank you for coming on, participating, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, take care, brother. All right.
I tell you what, that man right there is the breakout comic YouTuber of 2023 for me, bro. I love that guy.
Yeah.
That's what I'm telling. Every time I've seen him pop up, I'm like, dude, this guy's got personality. He's got the knowledge. I'm like, just a great, fantastic dude, man.
When he came around, Chaos and Comics Chris, he was saying, "Watch out, that guy reads books and he knows what he's talking about." And it's for sure. That's awesome. Yeah,
incredible.
He knows movies too. Check him out on a PCP movie night. He did Tales from the Hood with us. Killed it, slayed it, man. Fantastic show.
Yep.
Put the name of your channel in the chat, Stu, if you don't mind. And if somebody can put a link, that would be even greater. So, man.
The name of his channel is Bad Microphones and Really Shitty Hair. That's the name of it.
Oh, dude, man, I love this year bringing in the community picks. We did it all in 2 nights. We're at the 2.5 hour mark. I just want to say thank you to you guys first of all, Chris, Nick, Robbie. Man, just taking the time to do this 2 nights in the month of December, getting close to Christmas. I know it's a lot, and I genuinely appreciate it. I know we have our little quirks about different books and stuff, but I have so much respect for the guys on this panel. So I want to say thank you to the 3 of you. Loved having you on to last night and this night. Man, this drink is making me slur.
Yep, we're about there. We're about there, bud.
We're about there, man.
Don't worry, Chris. Man, we're all very appreciative of being here, and the invoice is in your inbox. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Come on now.
We'll use my. You guys take PayPal. I remember that. So. Thank you guys. I want to say thank you to everybody in the chat. If you didn't hit that like button, really appreciate you guys. If you didn't get the memo, we love comics around here, and we put for this channel. It's not about. There's a lot of negative out there, guys. And look, I can participate in it just as much as anybody else. I can get drawn into that stuff. And you know what? There's some good stuff out there when you start talking about, how do we need to grow the medium? What is wrong with the? There's some stuff that's good to get into. But at this channel, we focus on what we love, and the name of the channel is Lost in Comics because we open up these books and we get lost in these incredible worlds of comics and characters. I know I'm preaching to the choir here. Everybody in the chat, these guys on the panel, they all have that same thing in mind on their channels. I encourage you to follow all of them. All the community picks that came yesterday and today, all great people. Please go follow them. This is the community. I love the community. I want to spend more time with you guys. And this was a chance for us to just spend a little snippet of time over the last 2 nights. And again, I just want to tell you, show you my gratitude. I will tally up all of these nominations over the weekend. I will blast that link all over social media. I will put it out to anybody that wants it. Everybody is welcome to vote, and that will be an external link. Please vote, share it out. Comic Awards Show, January the 11th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Right here on this channel, the awards will be presented by comic creators. Put it on your calendar. Do not miss it. Make sure you don't have a date with your wife that night, or your husband, or your boyfriend, your girlfriend, because you need to be here for the award show. Guys, I know we did it yesterday. There might be some people that weren't here yesterday. Starting with Nick, where can they find you? What do you do? Tell us about it.
Right here on YouTube and over on Instagram, Nick Comic Culture. You can catch me doing FOC, new release videos. I do review videos every Saturday night. I call that show Nick at Night. I do key comic breakdowns, pulling out some of my key books, doing some page by page analysis of those. I have a great Arthur Adams book video that I just put out recently, so go check that one out too. Just trying to do my best to imitate Robbie as much as possible, and just love you guys so much. Thanks
That's
so
what
much
we all
for having
do.
me on here. I know we imitate the best, right?
That's
So,
right, man.
Yeah,
Shut
man.
up. Shut
Yeah.
up.
That's what we do, man. That's all of
Thanks.
our mantras.
Thanks for having me, dude. This was a grind. It was a grind to pick all these things out, and but I had a blast talking with you guys. It was just such a good time. Thanks, man.
Heck yeah, it is a lot of work, but then when you do it here and we get together, man, it's just so rewarding. I every single year, it's a grind to put all this together, but when you do it, God, I love it. I love spending time with you guys. Robbie, well, I heard you got a little. You started a new channel, YouTube channel. What do you do, man? How can people follow you?
Pop culture philosophers, and I appreciate the praise, Nick, but I'm only comfortable with praise by myself about myself. So like, anyway, that like. Now, Nick is one of the absolute best comic book reviewers out there. Everybody needs to check him out, and he's a serious competition for me in the CBC Awards next year for best comic book review, 100%. So is Chris up here. Yeah. Chris is a fellow retailer. I love you. We are a proud breed, man, and it's up to us to keep this medium alive. It's up to you, the readers, the YouTubers, the reviewers, the fans, the creators. This is such a great industry to be a part of. Pop culture philosophers, man. PCP movie nights on Monday nights. Rockin' Robbie Live on Sunday nights, weekly comic book review on Tuesday nights. Tomorrow night, join me on Dylan's Horror Show. We're going to be talking about Christmas, Bloody Christmas. So I'm very excited for that. And next Saturday, join us for our 5th annual, I think it's 5th, maybe 6th, Festivus live stream. So there you go. 6th annual Festivus live stream. Whatever. We're doing Festivus. So join us there.
Nice.
Love you, Chris. Thank you.
Love you, man. Chris Barcombe. Tell us about Secret Lair, man. Just real quick.
Secret Lair Comics. My wife and I are the co-owners now. We bought it back in April. 10-year-old store, Harrisburg, Virginia. I was the first customer at this store. I was one of the very first employees. I've been there from day one. I love going into work every day. 60 plus hours a week, still have a guy to paycheck 10 years later. I'm fine with that. Doesn't bother me at all. But The Amazing Adventures of Perry Sam is my all ages comic that I did. You can find me on Instagram at CB Author. You can also follow the shop, The Secret Lair Comics, Instagram, Facebook. I want to thank all the co-panelists on this. I know how hard this show is. I know how hard I put, the amount of effort I put into it. I'm always amazed at some of the picks you guys have because there's things that I don't think of. And then I have to rethink my list all the time. It drives me nuts, but Robbie is almost always right. I know that's going to go to his kids, but he's got these good points.
He is, man.
He is.
But Chris, thank you again. I know how much work goes into this. I know how much fun you have with this. I always am very humbled for the invite to this every year because I'm just a little old guy in Harrisonburg, Virginia, who reads a lot of comics. And if you ever find me on Instagram on a Wednesday, you'll see. So.
Yeah, you read a ton, man, and it's. I love having you on. You have the knowledge. You read a plethora of books, man, and you are my friend, man. I appreciate you, Chris.
Thank you very much.
Man, what a wonderful night. I feel like I want to hug you guys. I feel like I want to go to an after party. I want to just take all these people in the chat, and I want us to go all hang out. This has been such a blast. Thank you to everybody in the chat.
What's
you
the
guys
most
were
central
incredible.
Location, Chris? Let's just all start driving right now. Let's.
Yeah.
So who's the furthest up north?
Nashville, Huntsville,
Chris. Texas.
Virginia.
I'm South Texas. I'm way down
somewhere
there.
in Arkansas, we could all meet up, maybe.
All right, we can.
Or
trying to get me to go to Arkansas.
or Heroes Con next year, Chris. If you don't, bail out again.
I still feel horrible about that.
No,
I
man.
did everything I could to get down there Sunday, but we had just switched to Comic Hub from Pullbox, and I had no clue what I was doing, and I could not leave.
Yeah.
But I will tell you right now, I've already talked it over with the wife. I will be there this year. It's already done. So
nice. Love it.
That's gonna be
Love
awesome.
We're gonna hang out, man. We're gonna hang out. All right, y'all. Man, once again, thank you guys. We love you. We appreciate you. You don't have to go home. You cannot stay here. You have a wonderful weekend. And as always, stay lost in comics. Good night, everybody. And goodbye.